months ago. Decided we had it pretty well down, and we did another one with this. Nobody expected what happened, and of course, after I announced it, then I get the call from the folks with the movie, and then we had some other things happen. Brazil, South Korea. We have the South Koreans here, former president, okay? You're gonna see him this afternoon. So it wasn't perfect, and we're still working through some of the stuff. We tried to be as sharp pencil as we could, you know, had to spend a pile of money on all sorts of things. But I thank all of you for being graceful as we try to work through it. We did kind of jam the tables in to make sure that we had everybody in, so it's a little bit tight quarters. Did you still have a good conference so far? One of the things that we were hoping, and we were told early on we were going to be able to pull it off, was to take the bar area out and then have it so it was more open across there. In fact, we'd actually go to that side. And then just with logistics, working through it, they just decided it just was going to be too close and they might be able to get stuff done that interfere with us. We have a great ally here with Don Ahern, with the Ahern Hotel and staff. Very important. I mean, they're running a business. They got you're blessed in ways that you don't even know, so that I would say it's a hand of God thing. He wants you to be able to do what you're going to have to do next. Why is the president following what you're hearing, what you're seeing, what you're understanding? Because you're going to be that Gideon's army at this critical moment. And I'd actually encourage all of you, go read that. Go read that section of the Bible. And then just kind of in your imagination, you can even find some Bible commentary to help you kind of think through what would that have been like? And they went into battle. They didn't have a sword. Okay? When the enemy ran, it wasn't from their sword. They were killing each other off. And when they were defeated, they didn't come back and bother Israel for a whole 50 years. Nobody did. When we beat the deep state at their own game, they're going to be wiped out, and we're going to bring peace, not just to America, but to the whole world. Think of all the lives, okay? Everyone here affects a much larger crowd than you ever thought of. And by the way, you know what? Think of 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, everybody in this room, and the amount of influence you had in the community, how you thought and all that. You've grown up in the fight. You've been trained in the fight. You mentally have shown yourselves approved because you can process things, you can think for yourself, you're not going to be a SNEOP. You're the greatest audience of this type in the country, and you've got the greatest leadership here providing stuff. I mean, Trennis Evans, just another one of us, and rises all the way up to the top, dealing with stuff going right to the president, the J6ers, leading really a informational side into that community that I don't think anybody else even touches. We got a number of people. I could stop and go, well, there's this one, this one, this one, this one, this, endlessly. The amount of leadership within the Patriot community that we have represented here as a cross section is off the charts. Do you guys agree? So, Matt, who do we have up next? I didn't even look. I got over here and I got swamped a little bit. I didn't get a chance to look. Greg, oh my gosh, Greg, we had a great conversation the other day. Seriously, come on up here. Come on up here. You know, go ahead. Oh, yeah. Yeah, don't go over there yet. I want to talk to you. Okay, come on, come on, come on. Come on.
Hey, not contract, no. I was going to call you up here anyway.
Just one more time. Great, Greg. I got to tell you, you know, you just wrote a book, or you're in the process of finishing up this book. It's done on pro se.
Yeah.
You know that. Let me just give you a hint. One of the days that we're going to do in September is going to be just focused on pro se everything, because you know what? We have not been able to get through the courts with attorneys, not because they're bad attorneys, but because the attorneys can get sanctioned and fined, and the judges, they're part of a club, and they only want the attorneys to bring stuff they want. And then they've got a scam going across the country where if you're a pro se in so many of the states, you can't get out of what we mockingly call magistrate hell. They won't let you get to an actual judge. They're gatekeepers to get into the court system. So we're going to spend an entire day. Greg, would you come in September and present again and actually go in? And I actually would like you, along with Tracy and some of the other folks, I want to coordinate that schedule out. That's going to be one of the most important days within this whole movement, I think, in the next several years, because we've got to have the pro se, get the respect in the courts. And, you know, Abraham Lincoln, he wasn't a bar accredited attorney. He read by candlelight, figured it out, did it. You're like an Abraham Lincoln. You even kind of have a little, we could get some lifts for you. Stilts, actually, in your case. But even in our talks, I'm just telling folks, this is a guy that's really in the fight in a unique way. We have so many people. Where's Tracy? She was sitting right over here before. Oh, there she is. Oh, she's supervising. I see all the way at the back. Okay. Echo, echo, echo. Tracy doing this amazing work up in Utah, and has been, miracles happen, the court system, she's now broken free of some of that magistrate hell stuff. She's got one heck of a story, unbelievable story. And a mom, okay, doing battle just like Lloyd did and his brothers, all the way to the Supreme Court. We're not done there. It looks like it's dead. Hold on, okay? So, and it would never have gotten to the Supreme Court except that it was pro se. So you're doing the Lord's work. You just wrote a book. I'm going to hand the mic off to you, but you know what? Let me just say a prayer for you. Father God, what Greg's doing is so important. We pray for favor within the court system, the legal system, and out to the public. We pray for your blessing, your provision, where there's thin resources for Greg and the others with him doing the beautiful work they're doing to bring justice into the lives of Americans back here in America and out across the world. I pray that you would bless Greg, protect him, put your angels around him, and give him the right access to the community, this community, to be able to send out his message accordingly, and massive book sales with this important work that he's done. We ask all this in Jesus' name, by the blood of Christ, make it so. Thank you, Greg. All right. Take it out.
Thank you very much, Juan.
And remember, you've got Mike and everything over here. You got your computer right there.
Coming over.
Tissue paper if you got to cry, whatever you need. Yeah, where's the hand cream? Where's Dino? Oh, you know what? I got, hold on. Hold on. I got 20 seconds.
Oh, I just used it.
Here, what? 20 seconds. Okay, so you know what? Okay, you know what? For different reasons, I had a couple of guys come out here to join us. I've got Ethan and Wayne. Wayne's one of my mechanics. He's doing stuff. He's 15. He's a farm mechanic. So they'll pull the cab off, pull the heads off, pull the tranny out, do whatever. He doesn't even think about it. Well, he's been doing it since he was a baby. So yeah, they got baby pictures with grease on them and everything. Working on the trucks. This guy could pick up the truck, okay, if you take a look at him. He looks like he's 25, been working out for 20 years. We got Wayne, kind of a genius in his own lane. His father and I did critical work for a long time together. In fact, his father's work was page 1 of the President's Daily Brief for many years, stuff that he doesn't even know. It's fun to have a young component here to begin to understand what's going on. They will be some of our leaders out in the future. We got some other young people out here, but I asked them to sit up front here. They've been Roman, great guys. And you might want to get their signature, because 20 or 30 years from now, you don't know who they're going to be, right? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. No, I want to use that. I like to walk around with the mic. Test. I got to be moving, walking around. Wow. Thank you all for being here. It's quite a showing. It looks different from up here. My name is Gregory Stenstrom. I'm currently from Pennsylvania, southeast corner of Pennsylvania. I'm about 15 minutes from the Delaware border, Joe Biden land, and 15 minutes from Maryland. So I'm tucked down in the county called Delaware County. Anybody here from Pennsylvania? We got a few? Oh, there you are. Sorry, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to. Joe Russo. Yeah. So that's my contact info here for anyone trying to get a hold of me. I mostly answer Gmail, mainly for storage. So anybody wants to reach me, there's that info there. I don't know if we're allowed to take screenshots or whatever, or photos, but. Say again? What, okay, hold on. No, I just make it go. Oh, okay. So this is the subject of the conversation for today, primary subject. The subject of this presentation is hidden in plain sight. You'll understand it in a little bit. This is a short booklet. It was about 100 pages about who's running the United States, the council. And after watching and listening to some of the presentations and talking to quite a few of you, I cut out a lot of the presentation. This has been downloaded over 100,000 times, over 100,000 downloads. It was the subject of 2 segments on Alex Jones, 2 of the biggest shows he ever had. Roger Stone was the subject of a couple of segments on Roger. I consider Roger a personal friend, and I think if you download this and take your QR code, it's free, I think you'll have a better understanding of how things work in the United States and who's running the show. Next slide. So I had all this screen space here, and I figured I only wanted to make a few important points. And it's something that Juan touched on earlier, and I hate to correct him, but it doesn't require 80% of people to make a change. It only requires about 3 to 5%. The American Revolution was instigated and fought by 5% of the population. 5. That's it. Our opposition and the people we're fighting, communists, whatever label you want to use, they're a very small minority too. There's not that many of them. So the theme and the thing I wanted to talk about was stop waiting for somebody else. There's nobody coming. It's just you. That's it, this room. Things aren't going to work out in November. I hear this happy talk. Happy, happy, joy, joy. Not going to happen, folks, unless you do something. You. Not the people, not the 80%. You. There's no politicians coming. They've shown you that. We have a broken Senate. We have a broken House, rife with corruption, that won't do what the President of the United States has been directing them to do and that we voted for him to do. The courts aren't coming, I can tell you that for sure. I've been in the courts for 6 years. Over 250 cases, just about every court in Pennsylvania, not all the courts in Pennsylvania, the U.S. Supreme Court, the appellate courts. I wanted to mention Andy Thompson right here. Where's Andy? I've been working with Andy. He's got a case here in Nevada right now. Proof that the governor of Nevada and the attorney general of Nevada and senior officials and senior judges, federal and state judges, committed federal election crimes, felonies, felony conduct right here in Nevada. He's pro se, and I've been working with him, and no one will step in. The DOJ is well informed. Everybody, you want me to give them by name? We started with William Barr, useless, a criminal, treasonous. We have emails from him to the head of election integrity, Richard Pilger, stating plainly they will not investigate the 2020 election fraud. I wasn't a bystander to the 2020 election fraud. I was recruited. My specialty is fraud. Recovered over $2 billion for the United States government and corporations over a long career. I put politicians in jail, sheriffs, mayors, congressmen have resigned. I was put into that data center in Delaware County for a reason. I had Bill McSwain, the U.S. attorney for Eastern Pennsylvania, in my cell phone. I wasn't dialing 1-800, report to the DOJ. I called Bill that night and again on Friday. And I said, Bill, get down here. We can use your team. We can use my team. We imaged 5 machines. I got 130,000 fake mail-in ballots in the back room. This is an easy squeezy. Bill Barr told him to stand down. He's a traitor. It's a matter of public record. The courts aren't coming. The DOJ is not coming. Pam Bondi is already gone. And I know everyone tried to be nice. Let's support Trump's appointees. Useless. Patel, useless. Useless. Harmeet Dillon, useless. Gene Pirro, useless. All of them have got full disclosures. Over 750 whistleblowers. 750 whistleblowers. Admirals, generals, SES employees, senior government officials. Tens of thousands of pages of evidence have been handed over to the DOJ. My understanding is President Trump calls Harmeet Dillon every day saying, "What are you doing?" Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Heroes are not coming. The people who will decide this battle are ordinary people. They were always the plan. Next slide. My job, ordinary citizen. How many people need to know the Bible phrase is, "Send me, Lord. Use me, Lord." That's all there is to it, people. Use me. Naval officer, computer scientist. My specialty is financial crimes. Got 250 lawsuits, like I've said, pro se. And what I've built over the last 6 years, with limited help, is a sovereign AI system that we've been using to prosecute our lawsuits and process this data. A sovereign AI system it's mine, ours. Our data center, our racks, our data, our AI systems, ours. Currently only for private use. That's what we've been building. The bottom line is, if you look at everybody here, you've got no choice. None of you do. You've seen this. You've got no choice. You've got to act. Next slide, please. I already mentioned this, pro se litigation. For those of you who don't know, I was co-defendants with President Trump. 2 defamation suits. I've been co-defendants with Giuliani, Newsmax, OAN, Margot Cleveland, Hogan Gidley, Phil Klein, Project Amistad, any number of people. I was in court for 900 days. Pro se. Alana Harbour wasn't there. Is that her name, Alina? She wasn't there. She took credit for it, but she wasn't there. 900 days we sat there in a defamation suit that was funded by the 65 Project, that was funded by communist groups, and it was funded to suppress anybody who would challenge the elections. Truth is a complete defense. Truth is a complete defense. The fact that this election fraud is a matter of public record for 6 years, it's unavoidable. We see it every day. Most recently, the people from California, I talked to a few of you. Spencer Pratt, just like every other election. Oh, I won. No, 24,000 votes came in just for the other person, and you lost. You think that's going to change in November? Seriously? Does anybody here think that's going to change in November? No. They're just doing it. They're not even bothering anymore. They send out mail-in ballots. They don't care. There's no LNA testing. Do you know there's not a single election machine in the United States that's certified to run an election? Not one. Not a single machine. That's a matter of public record in Pennsylvania. Filled with malicious code. The most recent verdict from a district judge in Pennsylvania, a federal judge, was while we admit that the code's not certified, while we admit that it's got malicious code in it that can change elections, it's speculative that it will be used to cheat. That's our ruling. Went to court again for this election and the last election with the machine code. Done it 5 times now. Secretary of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania admits twice that the machines aren't certified. This is illegal. It's a federal violation of election law. It's a felony. So forgive me for not being so optimistic about our DOJ, but only three months ago, I sent a 40-page document, criminal referrals, criminal charges. I was asked, what do we do to stop this? You guys watch TV? Just indict 10 of these knuckleheads, 20 of them. They won't be able to roll fast enough. These people aren't willing to go to jail. They're willing to send you to jail. But if you indict them, if someone from the DOJ, anyone, and I'm going to challenge you to come up here, Juan, you give me one person in the DOJ, one, that will grow a pair to be vulgar, and this is all over. Next slide, please. It's the first book I wrote, Leah Hoops. There's a QR code there. Nothing's changed since 2020. The election machines use fraudulent code. Over 70% of the mail-in ballots are fraudulent. I can prove it. We have proven it in court. Truth is a complete defense. It's entered in the public record. Multiple dockets from the Supreme Court all the way down to county courts, all over the country. We got the proof. I've been listening here for 2 days. I was walking around asking people, what is it that you want from us? What more can we tell you? What can I add to this? I know most of the speakers here. Ian Trottier, coming on after me, I think. Ed Solomon's here, great mathematician. The people that have been at Peter Tickton. I don't think there's anybody in that list of people there at the bottom that I don't know. Most of the podcasters that are in here, I see different ones. I've been on all your shows. Does anybody need any more proof? Do you really need any more proof? If you want it, that book is still for sale on Amazon. It's inexpensive. Tell you everything I want to know. How they use the machines, how they use USB sticks, how they integrate mail-in ballots into the system, the corrupt judges. I filed lawsuits against over 20 judges. I'm not a popular guy. Next slide, please. It's the new book. In the parallel election, we tell you how they did the fraud with evidence. Videos of election officials destroying public records and ballots, laughing at you on video. Coordinated with James O'Keefe at the time. We did a sting. One thing I've learned in every public corruption trial or scenario that I've been in is public officials are all arrogant, most of them, and they always destroy the evidence. Always. Every time. Every time. They can't help themselves. They'll destroy the evidence, make up evidence, pretend it doesn't exist. Got to get that working, or I'm going to be walking around like Freddie Mercury. Get me my Freddie Mercury mic. I got to be moving, got to be walking. The Marine Corps comes to Pennsylvania again. There you go. You're my favorite guys to drive around. Go Marine Corps. Anyways,
we tell you how it happened, and you don't need any more. It's been entered in the court records. It's all entered in the courts, from the federal courts down to the county. It was a mystery to me why Mike Lindell, who got stung with hundreds of millions of dollars in fines, never called. I called him, called his lawyers, and say, hey, you don't need to take this fine. Truth is a complete defense. You weren't talking, you were telling the truth. I got the videos. I got the emails. 6,000 pages of FOIA requests from the federal government. Federal official after federal official. All people you know, admitting that they did it. Admitting that they stole $2.4 trillion over the past 15 years. Maybe 20. Public record. What this book does here is 97% of pro se cases will fail. They don't want to hear you. Supreme Court just passed a case where you are no longer allowed to speak in front of the Supreme Court pro se without an attorney. You don't know that. We can't represent the False Claims Act as citizens. If the DOJ commits crimes, the only one who can prosecute the DOJ is the DOJ. Does that make sense? The only one who can compensate victims of the DOJ and the Inspector General and the FBI is the DOJ, Inspector General, and the head of the FBI. They'll decide if you even hear your case. 97% of you will be rejected. This book changes that. I'm not an attorney. I'm an engineer. I'm a systems engineer. To me, the law isn't any different than the rules you would use to build a bridge. Beam's got to be so big. Span can only be so long. No different from a computer program. So all it is a set of rules. That's all the law is, to me. It's a set of rules. So what we did is we took all the laws in the United States. We put them in our own sovereign AI system, not ChatGPT, with its LLM and hallucinations and the different things that happen with that. We put it in our own system. We indexed all the files, took in all the cases, put in all the data, and then we generated lawsuits. Real lawsuits. You know what happened? They don't want to hear them anymore. Most of the cases that are in right now have been sitting there for 2 or 3 years. And what we found out was the court's greatest power isn't just to quash. You have no standing. You didn't state a claim. We have no jurisdiction. Whatever BS that they use to exclude you from the court. The greatest power they have is not to hear your case at all. Andy Thompson, wherever you are, they won't hear his case. They won't hear it. They won't hear my case. Next slide, please. I'm watching the time. You know, I asked this question, and it was a little uncomfortable for some people. And I got to admit, I really don't know why I'm here. Because Juan asked me. That's the only reason I'm here. And Matt Meck. That's why I'm here. For the love of God, I don't know what more I could say. The question I had, and Juan's walking up, because did Jill tell you?
Bear with me, bro. Okay? Stay right here with me. So, you are the burn our britches, the
Great
rock in
corner.
our shoe,
Yeah.
the bee in the bonnet.
Yeah.
There's a reason why we have Greg here. You have to have a safety all the way through. We got all sorts of plans and ideas. We make a move, they make a move. You have been in the fight. Nobody can challenge the stuff that you have or just dismiss it. That's why you're here, because everybody needs to know. I've told all you guys, you're survivors. You've stayed in it. That's what you've done the whole time. And we have to give you a lot of respect for all the work you've done. You're prodding along to keep this going. This pro se thing is so huge. I think personally, it's the biggest thing. That's why Tracy succeeded at this point in time. If we can't get to justice in the Justice Department and in the legal system, we are toast. We aren't the country we think we are, because there's no way to enforce the Constitution. So we're not in disagreement. You're here for a reason, because you have information that this audience needs to hear, get fired up on, and also to pass along to the other people around them. And then it will not be the 80+% that fixes this problem, exactly as you've said.
Great.
But it's going to be that we need at least the rest of the people that aren't here, like you, to at least not fight us at the critical moments, and at least kind of sort of understand, why are we in this fight the way we are? You are the Gideons Army. You're the 3%ers, and Greg is exactly right. There's no conflict here as far as I'm concerned. I just want to clarify that. And I didn't mean to interrupt you, except I wanted to make sure they understand you and I are totally on the same page. I'm a true believer. The work that you've done, so many people claim to have done a bunch of work, but their work is either frivolous, it's scattered, it's not coherent. You have been doing very coherent, important, intelligent work, and your book is going to help people. Big hat tip to you, bro. So, okay, thank you.
The question I had, and I've asked a bunch of people. I've asked a couple of dozen people. Some of you knew me, some of you don't. And I've said, why are you here? Why are you here? I haven't gotten a coherent answer yet. I'm here for information. I'm here to find out about fraud. I'm here for my podcast. Why are you here? You're here to fight? Well, I hope you are. That's why I came. What are you waiting for? A better time? It's been 6 years. All I've heard for 6 years is we'll get them next month. Don't worry, the indictments are on the way. I saw Steve Bannon earlier. Yay. My wife calls him the cheerleader. I'm not kidding you. The cheerleader. Yay. Something's happening. Somebody's doing something. What are you waiting for? More money? I haven't had any money. My cars have been repoed twice. I lost my health insurance yesterday. I lost a $5 million business. And I didn't think twice. I didn't have a choice. There is no choice. You have a duty to God, to your family, to your children. What are you doing? Really? What are you doing? You waiting for someone else? Next slide. Nobody's coming. Trump can't save the republic alone. I hear these people go, oh, Trump doesn't know. Are you kidding me? Seriously? Trump knows. He's the most informed man on the planet. It's arrogance for someone to say, oh, I know something President Trump doesn't know. Why isn't he doing anything? He's the President of the United States. He's a busy guy. It's up to you, not him. He's probably the only one who can do something now to force the DOJ to act. He's got to call Todd Blanche. He's got to tell his chief of staff, Susie Wiles, who is our biggest obstacle. The chief of staff of the United States of America, President, is our biggest obstacle. There, I said it. Our biggest obstacle. Number one, Todd Blanche was so busy screwing Pam Bondi the whole time she was in. And now he's going to fix everything, right? How about Kash Patel? We've dropped so much evidence on them. It's in the public record. It's in the National Archives. Jim Jordan, his statement to Congressman Lee of New Jersey when confronted with this evidence, with disclosures of $2.4 million in crimes, with disclosures of a blatant election fraud, was, "This is too toxic for us." No, that's a quote. "This is too toxic. We won't be able to do anything until after the 2024 election. So we're going to do nothing because I want to be Speaker of the House." That's what this is about. Jim Jordan, traitor. 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 The only one who's coming is you. Next slide. Everyone here is called. You wouldn't be sitting here if you weren't called. You might not know why. You might not know what it is you're supposed to do right now, but you're here. Like Juan said, you're here. I love you for that. Most people won't act when they're called. In fact, I talked to the AI. 94% of people aren't going to make it. Aren't going to make it. I got people here, and I don't say much about being a Christian, but I am a Roman Catholic. And I'm going to ask a rhetorical question, and then I'm going to move on in terms of how you lead your life and what it is that you decide to do. How many of you could take your phone right now, unlock it, and hand it to your loved one, your significant other, or your mom? I got a few. Congratulations. I've seen fist fights break out in some audiences. That's how you have to live your life. If you're going to be a crusader for Christ, a crusader for God, and you're going to lead your community, that's how you have to lead your life. Next slide. All right, I'm going to move it along. How am I doing on time? 15? Okay, I'm going to move pretty fast now. Most important things are really hidden. You can read this slide yourself. Next slide. I'm going to get to the meat of things here quickly. If you download and read that article, what happened in 1978 is that after about 20 years, the communists, Capcoms, neocons, the people who deigned to be running our country, created an organization called the Council. It was initially called the Council in 1978. It was later renamed the CIGI, Council for the Inspectors General for Integrity and Efficiency. They created the Department of Education at the same time, and the CIGI was designed as a control node. Head of the FBI, Inspector General of the United States, and the Attorney General of the United States. And a group of people. They had the power to indict. They had the power not to investigate. They had the power to impeach presidents. They had the power to prosecute billionaires. Absolute power. And what gave them that power was, how many countries have SEAL Team 6? DevGru. Green Berets, HRU, FBI. They had the full weight of the government to do whatever they wanted for 50 years. Now, for those of you that don't think the litigation doesn't work, you don't have to win. I don't have to get a win. I don't have to get a check mark from a judge to say we won. We initially filed our disclosures from 2023 up until 2025 of what the SIGI was doing, who the culprits were. And in March of last year, March 22nd, we filed a lawsuit naming 117 senior government officials as guilty of federal crimes. 117. One of them was the Inspector General of the United States, Michael Horowitz. That was one of the people. And we were told, oh, no one's going to do anything. It's not going to matter. On June 6th, they defunded the SIGI. It's gone. Of 117 defendants, over 75 have been removed, terminated, or resigned. Those are my scalps. That's why wampum beads, or if I said it right. That's my scalp list. Inspector General Horowitz moved to the Federal Reserve. People said, oh, it had something to do with the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve is a quasi-government agency, not subject to discovery. So don't tell me litigation doesn't work, that we don't get what we want. Juan's aware of it. That was a conversation for over 2 hours with Juan. If you want to learn about it, you can look it up. It's under Stenstrom, Schindler, Mancini, and Heitman. It's in the DC District Court. It's currently in the Appellate Court. Anybody would like to know more, let me know. Next slide, please. Oh, go back for a second. So I wanted to say about control nodes. I'm watching the time. What we found is by filing all these lawsuits, and you're all going to find this if you file lawsuits, is that governors of states, congressmen, senators, presidents control certain key positions. I don't need to control a judge. I don't need a dirty judge if I politically appointed and control the clerk that will file your lawsuit and get it to the judge, do I? If I control the clerk in the Superior Court, and I control the clerk in the Commonwealth Court, and I control the clerk in the Pennsylvania Supreme Court and other courts, and I can control the clerk, Scott Harris, of the Supreme Court of the United States and the Master at Arms, I control them, guess what? Your Supreme Court writ of mandamus, your Supreme Court writ of certiorari will never get to the judge. Never get there. It'll be quashed. It won't even be put on the docket. You don't know how many boxes I got back filled with papers. We had to file 40 copies of different things. I have letters coming back saying, don't waste your time. Literally from that movie with Matt Damon. You must be stupid, stupid, stupid. You're going to find that out, and that's in the book. And the reason I need 1,000 of you filing pro se lawsuits is one guy can't do it. I need 100 people, 200, 10,000 to see the same thing. Why am I getting a per curiam order from a clerk that this suit has no merit? What? Andy, how many times has that happened to you? Mike Miller, I can name a dozen people. Dozen people here. If you can identify the control nodes, you can beat them. Next slide. Same thing with choke points. Just military, common sense, engineering. That's all this is. This isn't rocket scientists. Who controls the certification? Who controls access? Who controls enforcement? If the only one who can prosecute election crimes is the DOJ and they don't prosecute, hello? How many fingers am I holding up? Next slide. The people everyone sees are not always steering. The people who are running this country aren't the people that you're seeing in the news. Next slide. I'm going to move it along. Now, this is a thing that's near and dear to my heart. I'm a sailor. It was a love for the sea. And you know something about the sea? Is it's indifferent. It doesn't care about your feelings. It doesn't love you. If you turn your back on the sea, it'll kill you. That's why I love going to sea. I love sailing. And what people do is they're all reaching for somebody. Who's doing this? And we're going to get to that before I finish here in about 5 or 10 minutes. You get me? Deep state. We're draining the swamp. It's the cabal. It's the Trilateral Commission. It's the World Economic Foundation, or whatever they are. It's Antifa. It's white people. It's Democrats. It's Republicans. It's the Jews. Seriously? Seriously. I'm going to tell you, for some of the people that I've talked to, when I hear that come out of people's mouths, what I hear in my head is, how can somebody in this day and age be that ignorant? Next slide. Abstractions don't act. People act. Let's talk about the Jews, which I've heard quite a bit. And I've heard Tucker and Candace Owens and all these people we're supposed to be supporting. How many people here have ever been to Israel? Oh, wow. It's a lot. Israel's a nation state. 1948. Jews is a religion. There's Zionists there. There's neocons here. Does the Ku Klux Klan represent you? Maybe some. Do the neocons represent you? No. Do you think, when I think of Bibi, when I think of Netanyahu, I'm from Pennsylvania. I know he's the prime minister in Israel, but to us up there, he's a guy from Cheltenham, Pennsylvania. He's a world leader. He's doing his job. Do you think for 1 minute that he can tell Donald Trump what to do? Seriously? The only one who can tell Donald Trump what to do is Melania. That's it. He doesn't listen to anybody else. He does what he darn well wants to do. Okay? Nobody's telling him what to do. And no one should be telling you what to do, especially under the slurs and some of the things I hear. Abstractions don't make decisions. People do. Next slide. Okay. I'll give you some good news. What AI is really good at, not the current AI you're being fed, but what real AI is good for is coherence. Coherence. Computers don't lie. They just give you the data. They can't be made to lie to you. Lies are expensive. Lies have to be programmed. The vertically integrated media stack has to be programmed. They have to lie to you. Goes back to the previous slide. Don't look at what we're doing. Don't look at the real people that are committing crimes. Don't look at the fact that the DOJ won't do anything. It's the Jews. Seriously? Seriously, you should be ashamed of yourself if that's the way you think. Ashamed of yourself. I'm a veteran of foreign wars. I've been to war. And if someone says something to me about race, religion, color, I recoil. It disgusts me. You can't even use the word in front of me. You find one of my friends that will, and every one of them will tell you, do not use an ethnic slur in front of him. He will call you out immediately. That's not godlike. Next slide. If you remember one thing here, and one thing about AI, and one thing from this talk, coherence is the boundary that evil cannot cross. Coherence. If I take all of the data for COVID and the COVID vaccine, okay, and I strip out the lies, which are expensive, but I look at the VEAS data and I look at how many people were killed and why they did what they did, it was a fraud. You can't make that up. If I look at the elections, the same thing. Ed Solomon, who I'm actually going to probably catch his whole presentation if he's sitting here yet, he's an expert in statistics and fraud. Just another way of proving it. The elections are fraudulent. COVID was a fraud. A lot of the things they're telling you are frauds. When I say they, we're going to get to that. But coherence, when you use AI, and I urge you to buy the book, only because probably about 1/3 of the book is discussing how and what to ask AI to get an honest answer. Most of you don't know how to get an honest answer from AI. If you talk about coherence, AI can talk to you about coherence. It can lie to you if you let it, but you say, what is the coherent data? Align all the data points and take out all the outliers. You'll get your answer. Next slide. Slide speaks for itself. I'll be here all day. I'll be here till tomorrow morning. Most people look for powerful people. I look for trustworthy people. Trustworthy. I don't care what your power is. Next slide. I'm going to wrap it up. Juan, this is where you come up, I think. We know who they are. We named them, 117 people, all of which have committed crimes, all senior government officials. And I hear these people like it's a mystery on TV. Like, how can we prosecute Obama? How can we prosecute Hillary? How do we prosecute all these people? We'd have to prosecute everybody. Good. Good. Yeah. Just start out, prosecute 10 of them, 20 of them. Most of you are here for election fraud today. 1. Good. Send me. Send me. I'll do it. And I don't think there's anybody here who wouldn't do it. Send me. I'll sign the indictment. There's nothing more they can do to me. We all know who did it. You're going to hear presentations today from learned men and women, most of whom are my friends. You've heard from people yesterday talking about all types of fraud. They just need to be prosecuted. You need to stand up. Next slide. I wanted to close with this. It's a little dramatic. Give me one more minute. So in November of 2020, not that I'm a naive guy, but I figured, hey, we reported everything. The cavalry's coming. I mean, really? The FBI, the DOJ, Inspector General, the district attorneys, attorney generals of the states, governors. We told everybody. We had video, had the evidence, had machine tapes. Tina Peters went to jail for it. She's somewhere in here today, I think. We had it. So I got a call. I had government contracts in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware. Big government contracts. I took care of all the network security for the state of New Jersey. their firewalls, their switches, their networks, Department of the Treasury. It took me 20 years to get that contract. I had a private business worth millions of dollars, worked out of an office in a wing of my home. My sons worked for me. And long story short, I got called in, I got sued, I think 3 or 4 times within the first 3 or 4 months. I got called in by senior government officials who were my friends, and they said, Greg, you got to stop. Governor of New Jersey was beside himself that I was on TV. He says, it's that or you get all your, pull all the contracts. What choice did I have? Really? If anything I said here is true, and all of it is, what choice did I have? What choice do you have? If you're making that kind of choice, there's something wrong with you. If you won't take that risk for your family, your kids, your wives, your husbands, you won't take that risk, God have mercy on your souls. So my second oldest son worked for me. I used to not be able to talk about it, but he had worked very hard. His life was really wrapped around the business, his identity. He killed himself, shot himself in the head. He died in my arms on February 6th, covered with blood. And about a week later, I was trying to make sense of it all, and I got asked to speak, and I don't know why I did. It was Amish country in Pennsylvania, somewhere in Lancaster. And a friend said, hey, why don't you come out and talk to people? And there were a lot of people there, probably as many as there are here now. And I didn't know what to say. Didn't even know where to begin. Was it worth it? And I said this to the crowd, and I didn't realize I was lying. But I said to the crowd, you're worth it. You're worth it. You were worth my business. You were worth my son. You were worth the lawsuits. You were worth the pain. You were worth it. I said that a week after. And I didn't realize until the last year or so that that was a lie. They weren't. 90% of people don't vote in the primaries in Pennsylvania. We got 9 out of 100 vote. 9 out of 100. Are they worth it? The 9 are, maybe. Most of you will walk away from this. I don't know if you'll donate. Hey, I could use the money right now. I don't have any. I didn't have the airfare to get here. Matt and Juan paid for it. That's not a complaint. But I look at it and I look at the crowd, I look at you, and I've been walking around, and kind of the way to wrap this up is, are you worth it? Are you worth it? You're worth it, right? Yeah, well, make me believe that. Make me a believer. Make Juan a believer. Make President Trump a believer that you're worth it. Because most people won't do a darn thing. They'll sit there and go, what's President Trump going to do? Who's going to come and help me? Who's going to save me? Save yourselves.
Thank you, Greg. I gotta have a hug.
No, seriously, let me see. Greg's an inspirational person, but it's not inspiration just rah. He's trying to get you out of the seat somehow in your own individual situations. You know the scripture that comes to me that applies? 1 Timothy, I think it's 5:8, says if a man will not provide for and protect and care for his family, he's worse than an unbeliever. He's worse than an infidel. I take that very seriously, and I know all of you here do too. So this isn't a criticism, this is a compliment. You're here for a reason. You're the called, you answered the call. What Greg is saying here is that, you know, like a watchman on the wall, you see the problem coming. They're coming through the gates. And I have a perspective on how this solution comes about, but you know what? Where's the safety? What if it doesn't? What if something, we've all misread it, whatever, you still, the war falls to you folks. There's no single point failure allowed for. There's nobody else coming to back us up. What Greg's doing and the way that you're coming at it, we have to force that the courts are actually providing a place for justice. The courts are captured, they're not working, and you can't get there with the attorneys and with the way the bar's set up, the way the judges can fine and disbar and remove law licenses. Attorneys, they're choking every day because they got a house, a family, everything else. They can't do it. So one of the ways that we have to bring the country back on track and online, I don't care if the military shows up. This still has to be fixed. All they do is buy time for us to come in, and now we have the work to do to fix it. The Justice Department must come toe the Constitution. They must obey the Constitution. They must give us access for redress of grievances. Nobody's getting redress of grievances. And then the other thing, I'll just say this, Greg. Do you have a place where we can give to you? What do we got to do?
Patriot.online, donate. Okay. Patriot.online, donate.
Okay.
We'll give it to you and he'll give it to me.
Of course, you know, we will. And so, yeah, you don't know what we do behind the scenes exactly, but, you know, to get Greg out here, I felt was very important. Matt and I discussed it. Hey, thanks, bro. Seriously. The guys lose their whole livelihood. And then here they are. Bro, I love you. I know that this audience is going to take care of you, okay? And we're going to do a whole day just on pro se, and we are not in disagreement. I love you, bro.
Love you too.
All right.
I do.
Super.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks, folks. Okay, let's who we got up next here? Here, Nino. All right. Oh my gosh, Nino. We're already 15 minutes late. Can you do anything to kick some ass and get this thing moving?
Yeah.
What were you doing slowing the whole process down, okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
not intentional. Everyone knows what I'm going through at home, and it's been really rough. But yeah, I know a lot of you thought you left yesterday. I did not. I wanted to come back here and just thank everybody and thank Juan for putting on this event, because what a guy, man. This guy, I mean, national treasure right here. And I'm not making that up, man. Seriously, you are. How many people's hands? Can you all stand up for Juan, seriously, because I think he deserves it. For everything that we've been going through the last 6 years, this guy's been right there, man. And I tell you what, I wouldn't have a podcast without this guy. So I gotta give you homage, man. You're a great individual, national treasure. You've held a lot of people's hands through this hard time, and even me, man. And I do look at you like a father figure, man. So I really love you, man.
You think I'm that old?
Yeah.
Hey, Professor Clements, is it Professor Clements? Where's the professor? Come on, let's go. Come on, step it up, Snapchat. Okay.
I saw you on the plane. Yeah, you're from Las Cruces, right? Wow, small world, man. I knew it was you, man. Pleasure. Good to see. I knew I recognized you, man. I've even had this guy on my show.
The only other thing, Nino, is this guy is trying to imitate me. You know, Randy Quaid, Roseanne had Randy Quaid typed for the part in this TV show she's doing. Okay, so I'm supposed to, you know, Randy Quaid is trying to copy me. And then I get Professor Clemens, and he's trying to copy me.
No, I think this guy needs to be on Ancient Aliens.
Okay, we're going to hand it off. Go ahead, and we'll see some more of Nino this afternoon. Professor, wow. I love you, bro. Okay. But who's your stylist? Okay. You got it.
There's no mic here. That's all I've got is this. Are we good now? Yeah, let me take that one too. Okay. Hey, everyone. You know, I sat through Greg's presentation, and I get it because he's been through hell. And I've had periods where anger ruled the day, but we can't stay there. You know, power comes from a place of peace, at least a peace within. And real authority doesn't come from a court. It doesn't come from the president. It comes from the king. And a dear friend of mine, Pastor Yon, had a download when he took a look at this crowd, and he wasn't insulting, but he said, it's all the seniors. But what he told me was that when you look at how the body of Christ is built, you've got the head, you've got different parts, that this is the shoulder in which that head rests. Yes, we've got a body and some of the parts are pretty aimless, but this is the shoulder. You all are carrying the burden. That's what the shoulders are for. And so I'm going to come at this a little bit different. When someone says no one's coming to save you, I respectfully disagree. We believe in a God, do we not? A mighty God. And he loves this nation, and he loves the people here. And we're due a miracle. We talk about this being like 1776. We talk about this being like the time of Lincoln. It is, and then some. And some pretty spectacular, amazing, unlikely, impossible things happened then. Why can't they happen again? And the other thing is this. I share Greg's lament over the DOJ doing nothing. I get it. It doesn't bother me 1 second, because they were never the plan. They were never the plan. And we're going to talk about that. And I can say this, folks, I'm going to give you a little bit of hopium, but I've earned it. I've earned my hopium. And I choose to have faith in this providential time, in this providential president, that we are going to succeed. We are going to have real victory. So, but before I do that, this is a conference about action. I just saw all of these generous souls reach out to Greg, support him, bless him. There's one more soul that I'd like for you to consider blessing. And it's a dear woman by the name of Kathy O'Brien. A tornado destroyed her home. She wasn't even sure if she could show up yesterday. She did, briefly. They had to clear the debris and the rubble. Her house is split open. Split open. And the fundraiser only has about 35 grand. It's going to cost way more than that. So please take a screenshot of this or direct a donation straight through her website. Usually the demonic gets to enjoy a momentary catastrophe before someone enters into a spiritual promotion. And Kathy, over the past 30 years, has been fighting against the CIA, fighting against the MK Ultra handlers. And I think she's on the brink of sharing something that's so consequential that she is being derailed every which way that you can imagine. And right now, her home isn't a home. So please, let's get this above 100,000. Let's bless her, please. People ask me all the time, how can I bless you? You can bless me by blessing my friend. And I will be so happy. Okay, so the title of my message, also, I guess I have to stay here. I think after the fireworks you just had, maybe I just need to be steady. I'm going to stay right here and be a good boy. Because I think of all the things I can do with the time that I have, and you know, sometimes these routines, they can turn into stand-up routines. And you know, I heard just the other day, there was a UFC fighter in a cage, and I don't want to get anyone in trouble with the broadcast, but allegedly, someone said out loud that a former first lady was a man. I'm not saying one thing. I'm just saying that happened, and I don't know. I just want to ask you, did you hear about that? I mean, we got to take the high road, and I'm saying the word allegedly for legal purposes, but that was interesting. Now let's move on to the topic at hand. Allegedly. This is what we're up against, folks. This is a cast vote record summary. This is why I'm here. This is what you want a record to look like with natural behavior. This is what we have across the country. And instead of me explaining this to you, I'm going to just give you a clip from Let My People Go. Anybody here seen that film? And we're going to get about 8 minutes of education, and I'm going to get started, okay? Now, do I have audio? I don't have audio. I don't have audio. How do I fix that? Okay, plan B. I'll just give you back what we had before, and give it to him. Okay. There's a little. Well, I don't know if that was necessary or not. Yeah. That's on the other side. Okay. Here we go.
One of the most vital election records to analyze in determining whether systemic election fraud is present is called a cast vote record
Turn
summary.
it up.
Experts will study the record to see if the sequence of votes being cast by voters reflects a natural pattern and whether it adheres to the law of large numbers. The law of large numbers governs scientific polling and many quality control practices.
Maricopa County has over 2 million registered voters. Someone's running for office. They do not make 2 million phone calls and say, do you mind telling me who you plan to vote for? They make 400 phone calls at random. Candidate says, well, I want a more accurate poll. Okay, call 1,000 people. You don't have to call 2 million people because the sample is random. It doesn't matter which 1,000 you pick, as long as there was no pattern to the way you picked it. One of the citizen auditors gave an interview, and she said the box of ballots that I went through to inspect was 7 Biden, 1 Trump, 7 Biden, 1 Trump, 7 Biden, 1 Trump, 7 Biden, 1 Trump. People do not line up that way at a polling place.
Transfer that concept to elections. An election is a poll. The ballot that you're marking shows your preference for a certain candidate. So you would expect to see within the CVR the same phenomena that you see in polling. which is some variability in the beginning and then a flat line. Instead, what we're finding is a spike for a predetermined candidate and a linear drive towards a predetermined set point.
And I looked at the curve and I said, that's a PID controller. So what's a PID controller? Well, it's proportional integral derivative. It is the simplest closed loop feedback system. That graph reminded me very much of an airplane coming in for a landing when the runway is completely fogged in. Then the pilot pushes a button that says Cat 3 auto land, and the plane gets the beacon and says, where's the start of the runway? Aim for it at a 3-degree glide slope. And there's a strong gust of wind, and it bumps the plane's nose up. Did the computer know there was going to be a strong gust of wind to bump the nose up? No. But it knows it's not on a 3-degree glide slope, and if it continues this direction, it's not going to land at the start of the runway. And it says, decrease attitude and get back on the 3-degree slope to hit the start of the runway. Let me put two races side by side, which are completely different in every respect. So two different counties, Pima County, Maricopa County. Two different machines, ES&S and Dominion. Two different races. We'll take county sheriff and president. That means two different pools of voters. Two big peaks, 2-to-1 slope, 25% of the way. There was a little bump and it tracked on down. In Pima County, 16 of the 17 races were won by the Democrat. One race was won by the Republican with exactly the same curve. But what this tells me is that at the bottom, all of the election software is the same.
In fact, over 400 cast vote records have been analyzed in over 300 counties across the country, and we're finding the same phenomena.
Many people talk about the whole thing that makes it go. It's the machines that provide you with the metrics to know how many ballots to create out of thin air, put in a drop box, and steal races. And what are they doing right now throughout California with Spencer Pratt?
That's what we're
They're stealing the race. Now we have the bombshell breakthrough that was supported by John Solomon, where a congressional delegation showed up the day after the election in November of 2024, and they did a spot visit at Runbeck. Runbeck is the industrialized, scaled up place where they print up the ballots. One of many. But when they showed up, the machines were still on. They were still printing ballots, and there were pallets full of these day after the election ballots that were being put onto Penske trucks by non-English speakers, and they were headed to California. They were headed through Arizona. They were headed through Nevada, Colorado. Now, we're in what state? Nevada? You guys were owed a U.S. Senator by the name of Sam Brown, correct? They didn't have to steal, they just kept adding them. They added them. There were about 30 House races in California that were firmly in the R column on election day until the industrialized cheat continued. And one of the big fictions that we keep buying into, because there are a lot of people that are out there talking about a prescription that we need to chase ballots, ballot chasing. Beat the Democrats at their own game. We've heard that. And what I'm finding out is that get out the vote efforts are diametrically opposed to election security efforts. They are not the same. It's one of the biggest grifts in the world to think that somehow you're going to beat Democrats when rhinos are part of the problem as well. And the whole point is this: hey guys, let's go out and scour the wastebasket at a dorm room or at a nursing home, and somehow that's going to produce the 20 million ballots that were added to the 2020 election. Are you kidding me? So unless we have our own version of Runbeck, and we
It's one of the
become
biggest
wholesale
risks in the world
cheaters,
to think that
you're
somehow
not beating the Democrats at anything.
when rhinos
But
are
it's the
part of the
machines
problem as
that make
well.
it go.
And the whole point is
Now,
this. Hey guys, let's
why
go
do I
out
have
and
hope?
scour the wastebaskets at a dorm
Because
room
in
or at a nursing home,
2021,
and
I
somehow
got to have
that's
a
going to
brief
produce
meeting
the 20
with
million
President Trump.
ballots that were added to the 2020
And
election. Are you kidding
I
me?
can't tell you
So unless we
why
have our
I
own
felt
version
in
of
my
run back
spirit
and
that
we become wholesale
we're not
cheaters,
going to lose. But
you're
long
not
story
beating the
short, I had a
Democrats at
supernatural
anything.
encounter
But it's the
January 6th,
machines that make it go.
2021. And I was
Now,
told we're going to win.
why do I have hope?
I was told this.
Because in
And
2021, I got to have
trust me, right now, it's a lot easier to say that because is Biden in the White House?
and
No.
I
No,
can't
are we
tell
not here fighting
you
still?
health in my spirit.
Are we not witnessing the greatest exposure that we've ever seen of corruption?
Long
We
story
look
short,
past.
Amen.
supernatural encounter
See, we think small,
and
and you have to look at Trump and you've got to stake a claim on who you think he is. If you
And
think he is guided by the nose by a
trust me,
bunch of
right
idiots,
now, it's
you
a lot
don't
easier to say
understand the man.
that because
You
is
can't
Biden in
be
the White
this
House?
aloof
You know,
idiot
are we not
and
here fighting
also
still?
a 10D chess player.
Are
So
we
make
not
a
witnessing
decision
the
about
greatest
who you think
exposure
he
that we've
is.
ever seen of corruption? And we look
But he
past
knows these problems better than you do,
See,
better
we
than I
think
do.
small,
And he's known it the
you have to look
entire
at
time.
Trump and you've got to stake a
People are
claim
still
on who you
perplexed
think
with
he
why
is.
did we go
If
through the
you think
hell
he is guided by
of
the nose
2020?
by a bunch
Why
of
didn't
idiots,
he go in
you
there?
don't
You
understand the
weren't
man.
ready.
You can't
You weren't
be
ready. I
this
wasn't ready. We all thought, sure, there's fraud,
and
but
also
not the
a
kind that I
total
just showed you on
player.
that video.
So make a
Not
decision
everywhere.
about who you think he
But that's
is.
exactly what we're up
But he
against.
knows these problems better than
And
you
so
do.
as far as I'm
Better than
concerned,
I
the
do.
reason why I'm going to share these things
And
with
he's
you
known
with
it the
confidence is
entire time.
I filed lawsuits.
People are
I've
still
scanned
perplexed.
ballots. I've
Why did we
performed
go through
audits.
the hell
I've had my house burned
in
down.
2020? Why didn't he
I've
go?
had death threats you wouldn't believe. As soon as I got in this
I
fight, my
wasn't
sister was
ready.
shot in the
thought,
head.
sure, there's fraud, but not the kind that I just showed you on that video.
Yes, I
Not
lost my
every-
job.
But that's
Yes,
exactly.
you can Google my name and there's over 1,000 hit pieces.
And so, as far as I'm
And
concerned,
I'm telling you, the reason why these things have happened,
confidence
because
is
I know I'm telling the truth.
Amen.
I've scanned
Otherwise, you just ignore me.
I've had my house burned down. I've had death threats you wouldn't believe. As
So
soon as I got
when I
my
met
wife
with the
was
president,
shot
this
in
was
the
about
head.
10 months in. I didn't know then what I
Yes,
know
I
now,
lost my job.
but I was pretty close
Yes, you can Google my name and there's over
on
1,000.
the architecture of this vote
I'm telling you,
trafficking
the reason
scheme.
why these things have
It's all about
happened
vote trafficking.
because I know I'm telling the truth.
And I looked at
Otherwise,
him
you
and
just ignore
I
me.
told him, like, I need something. A week later, I would be terminated. But at the time, you know, he's
So
humoring me by
when I met
asking
with the
for
president, this
legal
was about
advice that
10
I
months
know he
in.
didn't need.
I didn't know.
But he's
then
concerned
what,
about the pulse
but
of
I
the
was
people.
pretty
He's
close
concerned about the people in this room.
on
He needs
the
to figure out how to
architecture
bring
of
us
this
along to do
trafficking
something,
scheme. It's all
which
about
is
vote
to
trafficking.
take the baton from him
And I looked at
and
him
run
and
a
I
clean
told him,
election. I'm not convinced we're going to be able to
a
run
week later I would be
a
terminated.
clean, fair election this
But at the
year
time,
without
you
the
know,
help of the
he's
national
humoring
guard.
me by asking for legal
I'm not
advice.
convinced.
I know
I'm
he
neither.
didn't.
In fact, I think your current election officials, staff, clerks
Of the
will
people
not
that are
only
concerned about the people in
be
this
an
room.
inhibitor,
He needs
they
to
will
figure out
likely
how to bring
compromise
this,
the elections and
do
then
something.
engage in all the lawfare they can
which
to
is to
keep
take the
these
baton from him
slave master devices right where they're
and
at.
run a clean election. I'm
And
not
this is a critical
convinced
choice
we
for
will
the Trump
run
administration as well to think
a
about.
clean, fair election this year without.
Because the power of these machines, some of us have been lulled into a
I'm not
sense
convinced.
that
In
if the
fact, I
right
think your
people,
current election
if we just have the
officials,
right
staffs,
people
clerks
controlling the
will not
levers,
only
then we'll be okay.
they will likely
Anybody here
compromise
watch
the
Lord of the Rings?
elections and then engage in all the lawfare they can to keep these slave master devices right where they're at. And this is a critical choice for the Trump administration as well to think about. Because the power of these machines, some of us have been lulled into a sense that if the right people, if we just have the right people controlling the levers, then we'll be okay. Anybody here watch Lord of the Rings? The mighty men of Gondor, surely the one ring to rule them all would not corrupt us if it was in our hands. We will use it against the enemy. That's a real temptation with the brass around Trump. That's why they don't talk about these things, because they secretly want to keep them. And we little hobbits of the Shire have to have the collective courage to march these tabulators, these e-poll books, and drop them in fire. Has to happen. So I'm begging for a bone from the president. Please, surely you have something that Mike Lindell doesn't. You created Space Force. You've got all of these curious videos out there. And he couldn't tell me. I'm not read into any plan. But his confidence and his silence spoke volumes. Because my prescription back then is the same as it is today, which is, Mr. President, we will meet you in the middle. But there's a black pill expo that's going on. There is a Panikin parade. And it's driving me crazy that in this moment, when we have accomplished so much, people are ready to give up. Give up on your president? Are you kidding me? He never left. He never gave up on you. But let's hear it from him.
I'm 45, 46, and 47, if you think of that. I just don't want the credit for 46. They indict their political opponent. And what that does is it sets off a chain of events that's very dangerous in future years. It could happen to them very easily. The reason Crooked Joe and his thugs are trying so hard to stop me is that in my first term, I disrupted all of it. Oh, did I disrupt? That was called major disruption. And in my second term, which we're sort of having now, but I don't want the results, right?
Okay, second term, that was on the campaign trail. And we've talked about this idea legally. Can you have someone who is devolved into a commander-in-chief without sitting in the White House? And the answer is yes, you can, legally. This is all a byproduct of continuity of government. And this might be unimaginable to some of you. But how else do you explain the walking red pill dispenser that was Joe Biden? Who did more to red pill you than I have. All he had to do was just walk around. That's all he had to do. And Democrats were like, I think I want to be a Republican. But that might not be enough. See, we here have talked about elections as a national security issue. And if you listen to the commander-in-chief, he's been saying the same thing.
Voter ID is part of Homeland Security. Think of it. We're talking about two separate items, but they're really the same. Voter ID is part of Homeland Security. And citizenship, proof of citizenship, is part of Homeland Security.
Okay, so he's telling you there. Now, this continuity of government idea that's just so crazy for many to embrace. I'm going to let you see this next video, and we're going to talk about it. And all I'm going to ask you to do is to not walk past what you're about to see. This is the immigration chart that Trump kept pointing to. It's also the same chart that he was pointing to when he was nearly decapitated. And in the bottom corner, on April 1st, 2020, the president tells us he left office. That's odd, because I could have swore I saw him finish the term and the usurper occupy the White House. And if you think this is a typo, he only showed it at about every single rally. So you think that they would have fired the intern, got you a chart that doesn't say that he left office. But at the RNC in 2024 with his bandage, he puts this on every single screen at the convention center and tells you, by the way, I left office that week. Now, guys, is he insane for saying that? Does he have worse dementia than Joe? I don't think so, but I think we're going to get a taste of it here. Just a second. Play this out. There's the RNC. Look at the arrow. Look at everything that's going on around him. Look at
And
this.
that was my last week in office. And that was my last week in office.
Say it one more time.
And that was my last week in office.
Guys, he never left. He never quit on you. This is why he doesn't care that your feckless rhinos haven't approved the Save America Act. Look at what it says. All voters must show voter ID. Pop quiz. Did he not issue an executive order that requires that anyway? Okay. We're gonna clip through this. All voters must show proof of citizenship in order to vote. Okay. Has he not issued an executive order that does just that? In fact, he has commandeered the U.S. Postal Service to ensure that if you're going to use the post office, it better be with curated voter roll lists that Doge likely went through. And if you don't, you're going to be subject to mail fraud, penalties, and the withdrawal of federal funds. The Help America Vote Act actually funds the rigged machines that we use. And I think he's just right now looking at all of the corrupt election officials, especially in California, that don't seem to think that he is serious about prosecuting the fraudsters. No mail-in ballots. That's what we just talked about. Executive order issued. I think he's also put executive orders on no men and women's sports, no transgender mutilation. He is operating through the executive power without any need of Congress. He's the executive. So he's already got laws on the books that are drawn from congressional acts that are already on the books. He doesn't need new legislation to enforce HAVA or the Voter Roll Act. So that's quite interesting. But he's telling you, I don't need Congress, because when you read this Truth Post a while back, it says the Democrats refuse to vote for voter ID or citizenship. To be fair, that also includes Republicans like John Thune and people that won't even bring it to a vote. The reason is very simple. They want to continue to cheat in elections. This was not what our founders desired. I have searched the depths of legal arguments not yet articulated or vetted on this subject, and will be presenting an irrefutable one in the very near future. That's the discussion we're having right now, folks. There will be voter ID for the midterm elections. But this is my favorite part. I feel like Vanna White. Whether approved by Congress or not. Those are what we call fighting words. And he goes on to say, this also applies to the mail-in ballots. So if you have familiarized yourself with Youngstown Steel decision, this is the steel seizure case, you'll realize that he knows exactly when to operate in his authority in tandem with Congress at the height of his power. He also knows when he can't count on the legislature and the Supreme Court, and he's got to go it alone. But he's going to do it legally. He's going to do it by the book. And something interesting happened today, as a matter of fact. Something happened. I don't know if you saw this. This came out from Reuters this morning. Trump invokes Defense Production Act for munitions supply chains. This is right out of the Youngstown Steel case. Now you're thinking, munitions, supply chains. Are we talking about rockets? Sure. But you're also looking at supply chains. And our election rigged architecture, the computers that are made in China, everything else, this has a bearing. And he has basically declared a national emergency, that we are under threat. And that allows him to do all kinds of things, including using the greed of Washington against itself because the military-industrial complex wants its money. So Trump has demanded that they infuse the Save America Act within this bill. You want the money? You're going to restore elections. Now, he's trying to make sure that he's got protections legislatively, but he can still act. Are you all following me? You guys like what we're throwing down? The problem that we're running into is that so many people are confused because they think Trump has the responsibility to tell you what he's doing. And I think that's a lot of the frustration we have in the conservative movement is he said one thing and he did another. It's called tactical misdirection, folks. It's permissible deception under a war dynamic. So, you know, what looks like chaos about Bill Pulte serving as acting DNI, and I think that's a fantastic pick. But do you think William Pulte would have been approved by our Senate? He wasn't. So what you're seeing is this wonderful, tactical, musical chair dance that's been happening with all of his first approved cabinet members. And I'm telling you right now, if the swamp didn't have some level of confidence with every single one of those folks, they wouldn't have been approved. Doesn't mean that they're bad people. It just means that they think that they can stop them, run interference, slow them down. But you'll notice, while Tulsi got in, there was no chance in hell this guy would have gotten in. Now he's in for at least 210 days. Setting a landmine by having someone that, by the name of, what is it? This is the, is it Jamie McDonald? This guy had exquisite bona fides in the legal world, right? And you could tell right out the gate that the Uniparty loved him. That should send you a message that maybe we don't want him. Sometimes Trump will create landmines that are, you know, going to help us. So we get a patriot. So much of my analysis when I look at what Trump messages is you don't look at what he says, you look at the fruit that comes from these decisions tactically. He knows that the Uniparty, the swamp, doesn't want who he wants. And so he has elevated temp after temp after temp into a place where he doesn't even require the Senate confirmation to keep moving forward. It is brilliance, brilliance, brilliance. So how much time do I have, Matt? Okay, I'll see what I can do. Oh, they like me. Oh, they like me. Oh. I appreciate that as a guy that never gets invited to the prom. I never get invited to the prom. Because what we're saying threatens Conservative Inc. It threatens the operators. It threatens people that want to be a part of the Trump movement because they're addicted to power. They're just not addicted to truth. So let me end with this. Trump's memorandum, this Defense Production Act of 1950, is not a minor bureaucratic move. It's not. It is a formal presidential determination that conditions exist which may pose a direct threat to the national defense. He is telling you, bringing you along, but he can't alert and spell it out for the Rachel Maddows of the world because he's trying to reduce the friction when a kinetic conflict happens. It's going to happen. But the degree in which that conflict manifests itself will be so wildly different in the year 2026 than it would have been in 2020 that all the left has are paid agitators that, guess what? They know exactly where the money's coming from, where it's going, and he's got them in a corner. Now, this Defense Production Act, it's a predicate that's needed for this third budget reconciliation package. This is the $300 billion in additional mandatory defense spending. But the fact that he's attaching the Safe America Act provisions within it should not be lost on you. These are signs and evidence that he gets it. And he's maneuvering in a way that is just so subtle. It's beautiful. Trump is acting like Lincoln. You have to understand Lincoln to understand what Trump is doing. Lincoln did not have the legislature. He did not have the Supreme Court. He made a decision based on a national emergency to, quote unquote, violate the Constitution because he didn't have the power to suspend the writ of habeas corpus. But he looked around and said, there's other provisions in the Constitution that I have to obey. I've got to put down the rebellion. I've got to put down the slave trade confederacy. And now we enter into a new epoch where we're still slaves. They just don't use whips anymore. They use machines. They still plunder your income. This entire Bondgate extravaganza is just a reminder that we are slaves. The fruits of your labor have been taken from you. So I'm going to leave on a high note. We are not alone. Trump's not going to save you? Well, he's going to do his part. I guarantee you that. He's doing his part. And if a bullet to the ear, assassination attempt number 1, 2 hasn't gotten your attention, the deep state is deathly afraid of that man, and they know their days are numbered. My plea to you is to not give up the day before you see what you want to see, which are arrests. So why I don't really care about the dysfunction of the DOJ, I've prosecuted a racketeering case. Have you? I've done RICO. Have you? As great as RICO and racketeering is, it is not made for this problem. It's made for the mafia, sure. But if you think it's made for the traitors within the CIA, Department of Homeland Security, former presidents, you have no clue what you're talking about. There's a line that goes down a different path called a tribunal. There's a place for the DOJ. Don't get me wrong. There's a place for plea deals en masse. When people ask me, David, one thing to improve our elections, they're thinking, get rid of this machine, get rid of the e-poll book. And those are fair questions. The one thing that we need to see is a prominent traitor brought before you with due process, of course. And after that due process, they get to suffer the legally prescribed penalty, which may or may not include a firing squad. Then all of a sudden, your clerks are going to start paying attention to executive orders. All of a sudden, it's like, I didn't know I was violating the law. How can I help? Oh, you don't want to use this black box? Neither do I. I've always hated them. But it's going to require that. So my plea to you is a man who's only spoken with the president one time. I don't pretend to be his best friend, though you've got my number. Call me. Let's be friends. I'm a big fan. I'm not going to give up on the man. Not going to do it. Don't give up on the president. When it comes, and it will come, we're going to have our nation back, but we're going to have a whole new set of problems, which is the shoulder. The people that are here, you're going to be the ones that are counting the votes. Not Dominion, not Liberty vote. We're going to take the baton. There is a place for we the people. But right now, it's to equip yourselves with truth, to shout down the lie, place faith in God Almighty that He's got a plan for this great nation. He's not done with us. Peace and authority, folks. So thank you so much for being here. God bless you. And please support Greg, support Kathy O'Brien. Let's lift up our patriots. God bless you.
I saw you put Kathy's stuff on your site just for donations. You need it too, though. You've got subscribers that have come on for your videos. They're kind of helping you through. I mean, the kids aren't starving. You're getting by.
I'm getting by. In fact, don't support me. Support Kathy and Greg, because one of the beauties of being poor is I'm a less attractive target to sue. People say, why haven't you been sued? Because I still have crappy cars and a crappy house. My cabin burned down. It makes me judgment proof. But the Lord has provided one. But I really want to, I promised Kathy when I saw her yesterday, I didn't know about Greg's circumstances, but folks, look at this room. We can change their lives today, and let's do that. Let's keep the fighters fighting. Yeah.
Hey, before you go, so you're a national treasure. You're doing great work. You went. How many states have you been to? How many have you missed so far?
I hate to say this. Where's Mac Warner? The only place I haven't been invited is West Virginia. I've been to all 49 states, but not West Virginia. Probably because Mac was doing a good job.
Well, you've been there with us, so you're going to be out there with us on June 27th, the private meeting that we're doing. No way! You got to be there.
I'll talk to my wife.
Yeah, talk to the supervisor. Gosh. Oh my gosh! Please, I call her. If we could have a conversation. Maybe I make her a deal she can't refuse. Okay.
This is my only way out. This is why I gave a pitch to the president, because I know he's watching, is I'm going to the Grand Canyon, and I'm taking my kids and my wife there. We haven't gone on a vacation in a few years. And but if someone wants to send a military helicopter to pick me up to help the fight, my wife has actually given me explicit permission to leave her right there. She'll be so happy if I get picked up. But outside of that, I'm going to hang out with my kiddos. And yeah.
Well, in this fight, family first, which we really are doing, right? It is a son of a gun. Jen and I have had to stop a number of times and say, okay, got to take a few minutes, take care of what's going on out there at the rings. Just one last question before I let you go. And I know we're a little bit behind schedule. Matt, we're just a little bit behind schedule. One quick question. Because you were doing all these presentations about the vote fraud 2020, you were going all over the country. You really just took it on yourself. You were attacked personally, your work, even your home, kind of a unusual thing there with the fire. And you powered on. Your wife is, which, by the way, all of us in here that have spouses and we've been in the fight some way, those spouses are, it's the difference between being able to be in the fight or not, right? So, but I have a question. You've become very articulate. You're so good. You're so precise in identifying these little hidden things showing that Trump never left. Was there a moment where that really catalyzed for you and suddenly, angels showed up with scripts or showed you where, and realized, oh my gosh, it's not what I thought?
Yeah, like I said, January 6th, if you see my latest video, Endurance, I give a testimony of what happened to me. And I'm not saying I saw angels, but I saw outlines. And you could say maybe you're on drugs or something. I know I look like it. I don't. But there was a download about how to see the man. And I feel like I've been put on this earth to protect that man's anointing. He's got an anointing, folks. And for me, I can't tell you why I know, other than I feel like the Holy Spirit is giving me a vision of clarity. But to see the man, to meet the man, to sit there, is to believe. And there's certain people that just carry light. And I pride myself when I was a prosecutor, I put thousands of people on the stand, and you've got to make snap judgments about who they are within seconds, minutes. You don't have time. And that intuition has trusted me, has served me. So when I met and visited with the president briefly, the man's got light and he's got truth, and you can't fake what this man has. And all I've needed to do is keep looking at the crumbs, picking them up, and making sense of it. This is not salacious stuff. This is just legal analysis. But for whatever reason, especially our attorneys, our egotistical, crappy attorneys out there, not all of them, we've got great ones here, but for the most part, they don't like talking about things they have zero experience with. And I would implore the attorneys out there to humble yourself and start learning about a different legal system, because there are answers there. And when they happen, we're all going to be studying them after the fact. But Juan, to answer your question, I got my own download. I was promised we're going to win. And it wasn't like this hopium thing. Like, I was bursting at the seams with a passion that serves me even today. I know I'm a little fatter, a little uglier than I was 6 years ago, but it hasn't left me. And I'm so thrilled that even now this is surreal to be standing here in front of how many people? 800, 900 people. This place is packed. And you have loved me enough to sit here and listen through it. So thank you so much.
All right. Professor, love you, bro. Seriously. You're national treasure. Thanks, bro. All right. Matt, who's next? Linda? Wow. And you're such a hot babe, and you dressed up for the occasion and everything. I should have dressed up more if I knew I was going to be on the stage with you. Oh my gosh. So I was kind of, and look at you. You two, yeah, I didn't get the memo. Linda, and by the way, Professor, the work you're doing, I think you hear a lot of people talking about, you know, this thing and this executive order, and it has been. He does that presentation in such a way that it's hard to argue if you've actually listened to it, even for people around you that haven't understood that. He just gave you in the visuals what you need to help red pill some of the people around you, right? So, all right. So Linda, oh my gosh. What are you going to tell us about today?
I think I'm going to talk about election fraud.
I wanted to talk about cookies. I wanted to talk about, you know, stuff that really, you know, empowers me to get through the day. But you're going to talk about more election fraud?
I will have cookies later.
Okay. Election fraud is such a big deal. You experienced it yourself.
Yes.
In a very real way. That's why I want you up here. You've had time to go through the process, the courts, the cheat, and you have a very personal story. And I think it's very important for everybody here, because yours is not a unique situation. It's just yours is better documented, and I think you're better at articulating it than a lot of the people that just went through it. Mm-hmm. Okay? All right. Love you. You're going to get a treat. Linda,
Well,
Mike is yours.
thank you so much. I am absolutely thrilled to be here. Juan, thank you so much. Matt Meck, he's actually on my board of directors. And I also have another board of director, Tim Barton, who's in the audience, who is undergoing incredible lawfare, and you'll be hearing a lot about that in the very near future. So I think the first thing I should let people know is how I got into this. I never in a million years ever thought that I would be involved with anything to do with elections, let alone everything that I've gone through. So back in 2014, I decided I was going to run for state rep in Middletown, Connecticut. Wet behind the ears, not really knowing how the system worked, and then you start seeing things that don't make sense. Why does my opponent's 4 adult children who haven't lived in Middletown in 20 years, married with kids in California, Massachusetts, and New York, voting for him from Middletown? Didn't make any sense. So what I did, what anybody else would do, you file complaints with the proper authority. In Connecticut, it's the state election enforcement. Useless. Absolutely useless. And yes, I do hold the record in the state of Connecticut for the most amount of complaints. I actually won, if you went legally, every single one of them. But when it came down to it, they never did what they were supposed to do. So anyway, I ran again in 2016, met my first ballot harvester. Didn't know it at the time, had no idea what a ballot harvester was. I just had this gentleman come up to me on election day in front of the one of the locations, and he had to show me all the names of all the people he got their votes for my opponent. And I'm thinking to myself, didn't you see my name tag? I'm a Republican and I'm his opponent. So it wasn't until 2018 that I realized how they were doing it. I spent a year and a half knocking on doors in the cold, since I'm from Connecticut, in the snow, in the heat. And I got to tell you, one other little thing I always stuck by is you never walk across anybody's lawn. So there's a lot of homes that are up high driveways, that you walk up the driveway, down the driveway, and 10 feet over here, you walk up the driveway and down the driveway. So anyway, we put together probably about 6 inches of hard evidence to show all the fraud that I had already found. I contacted the Chief State's Attorney's Office, and they said, we don't have the resources. Who did they tell me to go to? The State Election Enforcement. And what did I say they are? Useless. My husband has told me to stop saying that. He said, you can't keep saying that in public. And I said, all right, honey, they're absolutely useless. They don't do their jobs. So we go through the election. And actually, just before then, it was 8 days before the election, I was actually meeting with the FBI. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be good. They're going to help. 7 a.m. in the morning, I get a phone call, and they said, we can't meet with you. And I'm like, well, do we need to change the time or the location? And they said, no, it'll look like we're interfering with an election. I remember that day as clearly as it was yesterday. That I was on the phone begging the agent to take my information, take my evidence. I was actually crying on the phone. Never happened. That was the day Fight Voter Fraud was born. Because I figured if somebody else came along this, like, as you know, I'm a quiet, shy person. If I can't get anything done, what about everybody else? I didn't realize it at the time that that was the day that God chose me. Through the tears and saying, oh my God, a year and a half and I'm going to lose, and I know why I'm going to lose. So as time went by, I was trying to figure out what we can do. What can I change? We call things out, nobody does anything. As time goes on, we end up having this Report It app, because at this time I was just doing Connecticut. The Report It app, we geofenced in Connecticut, that you can report on your phone any fraud that you might see before or after or during election day. What I didn't realize is that when you put it on your website, it can come from anywhere in the country, if not world. So from November of 2020's election, and this continued for 2.5 months, at least every 5 minutes, I was getting reports. 37 states, 2 countries. So it was the second day after the election that things started to change. Because by the way, it was just me at the time. I had some volunteers, but it was just me. So this woman from Virginia contacted me and she said, do you have any for North Carolina? And I said, I've got about 24, 24 credible voter fraud information, which by the way, people were turning in their ex-husbands, their landlords, their neighbors, people are turning in anybody. And then I even got someone who said, if I wanted a fake ID, this is where you go. And I'm like, oh my God. So I ended up talking to that attorney about an hour later. She was actually working with Sidney Powell and Rudy Giuliani. So then they decided they wanted all the credible reports from all the swing states. So what they were doing is they were going out and getting affidavits from the people they were talking to. Fast forward to August of 2021, I'm invited to DC to speak to a number of people over the course of 2.5 days. Then I get told, well, we need to change the location because there's more people that want to talk to you than the facility would hold. And I said, you know, I really appreciate this. And I remember saying, why the hell do these people want to talk to me? And that's when I was told, all those affidavits that President Trump would talk about, we actually supplied between 70 and 75% of them from our little organization and how everything went on. So I was really proud of that. I knew I had probably about 50%, but I was really happy to hear the number was higher. So as we are going through all the stuff, what I decided to do is we wanted to start doing the deep dive to prove the people, the actual people, not numbers. We don't look at numbers, oh, 27 people, voted this way or that way. We wanted to see the people who had moved, the people who had died, the people that had double voted, and actually prove that they were violating the laws. Fast forward again, we had at one point over 2,000 volunteers across the country. They were our silent army of volunteers. They couldn't tell anybody they were working with us. We didn't want anybody to know what we were doing. Because once you tell the enemy what you're doing, they will do everything they can to thwart what you're working on. So as we go on and we're learning how to do this process, we built an SQL database. We know every single person, every single address. We know the 168 registered voters at a single family home in the outskirts of Chicago, and an outhouse in Texas. We have all of that. We know where they are. But what we needed to do was make sure we drilled it down to prove the actual people. Some of the things that we've come across was the dead people. And everybody says, oh, don't worry about the dead people. Nobody's going to vote for a dead person. Did I tell you I live in Connecticut? So there was, in November of 2020, we found out there was 7,742 active dead people on the voter rolls. Does anybody want to guess how many of them voted? Not all of them, but 542, and some of them even voted in person, which is absolutely amazing. Talk about dedication. And I also found out the joke in Connecticut about the cemetery votes really is true. And it's not just Connecticut. Is anybody from Florida here in the audience? You guys have the Lazarus effect. Oh my goodness. Your people die and then they come back to life 20 years later and continue to vote. Wisconsin. Oh, you're dead people. Your dead people flip back and forth. The Wisconsin officials will take them off, 2 cycles, that's all it takes, and they're back on again. This has been going on across the country for decades, So we believe one of the biggest problems is obviously the voter rolls. So with the voter rolls, what we had been doing, we do analysis, we prove the states that have violated HAVA, the NVRA, but we also know the people that are doing it. Whenever you see or hear someone say, whoa, they registered 1/1800, that's a default. That means somebody did not do their job with the registration. And no, we do not have thousands of people that are over 126 years old voting, because the default in the system is 1/1900. So anyway, what we do is we look at the people who should have been removed from the voter rolls. If you do not vote in 2 consecutive federal elections, you're supposed to be canvassed to say, hey, are you still out there? Are you still voting or not, etc. Then depending upon the state, some people automatically remove them. In Connecticut, you get to go on the inactive list for 4 more years, unless they hear something otherwise. And then by the 9th year, you are finally put on the off list. The only difference is when you're dead, you're dead. You don't have to wait. They're supposed to immediately remove them. And what we tell people is that if you haven't been voting, or these names are on the list and they haven't been voting, somebody's gonna vote for them. And we in Connecticut have Wanda the ballot stuffer. I don't know if anybody have heard about her. She's known around the world for stuffing those ballots in the ballot box. Well, we actually went to the Supreme Court in Connecticut with something I had done over that. There's a law 9-368 from 1837 that says, if 3 electors find that another elector violated any election law, and they have the evidence and they sign an affidavit, they can then go directly to the Superior Court judge who shall issue the arrest warrant. Looks pretty solid. It was used once in 1959 in New Haven, Connecticut. Long story short, we end up getting into the Supreme Court, which I got to tell you, my attorney said when he first met me, since then, his only goal in life is to retain his law license because we push the envelope. So we wound up making it into the Supreme Court. And again, I'm going to condense this down. And the unbelievable thing happened. Well, first of all, I had the Attorney General who's supposed to be standing up for me. He's on the other side fighting with the Chief State's Attorney against us. So the ruling comes down, and the ruling says we don't have standing based on Massachusetts law. This is the Supreme Court in the state of Connecticut, using a Connecticut law, made their determination using Massachusetts law. Now, recently, I was in New Haven, Connecticut, and someone had asked me about it, and I explained. Well, John Bolton is running for Attorney General for the Republicans in Connecticut. As everybody was saying, no, that didn't happen, he stood up and he said it was the most incredible thing he has ever seen in his life, using the Massachusetts law. So we know that even our Supreme Courts within our states will go to any length not to follow the law. But that's not going to stop us. We are going to keep continuing on with what we're doing. And what our organization does now, we actually train people, everyday people. If you don't want to join a group, that's okay. But you know something? Every single one of you can do something in your own community. You know who died. You know who moved. You know there's not 27 people living across the street from you in that one tiny apartment building. So you can do something. And we actually, Matt, we have a little clip. Quick little clip.
Hi, I'm Linda Sinkowitz. I'm the founder and CEO of Fight Voter Fraud. We are launching Operation Verify Voters 2026, and we want to get everyone involved in every single state because you can make a difference. We will be able to train you. It doesn't take that long for the training. It's very, very simple because you know the people on your street, in your neighborhood who have moved or died. We want to make sure that the voter rolls are clean. We're going to show you how to do it. Go to our website, fightvoterfraud.org, or scan the QR code and we'll show you how. Thank you.
It only takes about 15 minutes. 15 minutes of your time will show you what you can do. We'll hold your hand. If you have any issues, you can contact us. We're there for you. We've already had 27 states with people who have gone through our quick training. We've actually had success with our double voters. We had been sending double voters, and I'm not going to go into where we had sent them, but we are finally getting states that are doing something. A couple weeks ago, we got contacted by a police officer from New Jersey. They had our evidence with the letter from the Department of Justice on one of the people that had double voted, and they are pursuing it. We worked with a woman in Montana with 14 double voters. We reviewed all the work on that. She contacted me about a month ago. The FBI actually came to her house personally to get more information. They were actually doing something. So there's little bits here and there that things are getting done. Is it distressing sometimes when you're told, first of all, oh, there's no voter fraud? Or better yet, the way you're doing it, you're never, ever, ever going to have anything done. There's nothing you can do. You know what? I do not have a defeatist attitude. If we can make changes a little at a time, we can make things happen. And this is where we've started with things. Here's another thing. Every time we turn over a rock, we find more corruption. In Connecticut, and I use that as a base, and we are actually actively working in all 50 states with people. I was trying to figure out why, with all those dead people that we proved were dead in Connecticut, why there was still over 1,000 left on the voter rolls. We had been sending every registrar certified mail, a book with everything, 100% evidence that these people are dead. We don't just take, it's not taking a picture of a tombstone. I've seen people try to do that. That's not how you prove someone's dead. It's crazy with all this stuff. We actually show where they used to vote, where they used to live. We give the obituaries. We match on first name, last name, middle name, and date of birth. So I started looking into why are they not doing their jobs in Connecticut? Well, I found out why. In August of 2020, against a whole bunch of things we went through, we found 100% proof that there were 40 towns in the state of Connecticut that could not legally run the election. Their election officials weren't certified. 2 years, state of Connecticut, you have 2 years to get your certification. You take an 8-hour course. Then you take a 2-hour test, which are yes or no or multiple choice. You only have to score a 70 to pass. Oh, did I forget to tell you? It's open book. The bar is so low, you trip over it. This is what we're dealing with. So what I did in May of 2025, and contrary to what the newspaper reports and Blumenthal in Connecticut and all the others say, I had not filed a complaint in 5 years, because I've been doing this since 2018. So what I did was I called the attorney. We had words in the past, but he did want to see me. I think he was just happy I hadn't sent anything in 5 years. And I said, I have got documentation, which I did. We had put it together in a book. We had scanned everything in, every single thing that we got from the towns, registrar of voters, attorneys, on every town with the proof we had. We had it in a comprehensive book. We had the laws that were being violated. He invited me the same day, can you get up here in the next 2 hours? Well, of course. I got there, met with him, met with several of the investigators. And I said, I do not want to waste your time. We have the Secretary of State on dereliction of duty. We've got these 40 towns, et cetera. And I said, what do you want me to do? They said, file the complaint. Okay, so I filed the complaint, which also had 1,300 pages on a thumb drive. And I brought it to the Department of Justice and with one of the Deputy U.S. Attorney Generals, gave him the exact same information. 2 weeks later, I'm back down there and I have a letter from the state election enforcement. And what did I say before? They're useless, absolutely useless. So he looks at the letter and he said, well, where's the rest of the information? And I said, that's what I gave you 2 weeks ago. The state of Connecticut said it was unnecessary to investigate. Unbelievable. This is what goes on. So I also encourage everyone, check to make sure your election officials actually have their certifications. You can't give up. You have to keep moving forward with what you're doing. Now, this is going to be the first time I'm actually going to read something because I wing it all the time. I usually say, you want me off the stage, use the hook. Just pull me off. That's okay. So the other day when I got here, I was actually in the elevator, and it came to me. This is from the Declaration of Independence. And I was reminded of it because anybody saw the movie National Treasure with Nicolas Cage, when he ends up going and deciding that he is going to steal the Declaration of Independence. And this is what he read from the Declaration. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for the future security. That's what it says. Now, if you also remember, Riley Pools had no idea what it actually meant. And what it means is if there's something wrong, those who have the ability to take action have the responsibility to take action. And that is what all of you are about. You have a responsibility. And as Greg and David has said, you can't forget about what you see and what you know and what you've learned. Even if this is your first time being exposed to the fraud, it is real. It is absolutely real. And every single one of you needs to do something. Don't think somebody else is going to do it, because it's your responsibility, your ears. God has you here for a reason. And that's the reason. You need to pass it on to as many people as you know. Yeah, there's going to be some people that think you're crazy. I like Greg and David, I've had death threats. I have my phone number out there, and I answer the phone to anybody that calls. There's been some times I wonder why I'm still doing what I'm doing, and then I remember everyone needs to make a difference, and this is where God has put me right now. I'm not the same person I was a few years ago, even a few months ago. I gotta tell you this funny little, it's funny, but it's not. My parents are 86 and 88 years old, both of them hard of hearing. And about 2 months ago, I stopped up their house. They're still fully active. They don't even take medication, whatever. So I said, Dad, I said, I gotta let you know, I'm not afraid to die. Well, Mom thinks, oh my God, you're dying, you're dying. And I'm like, no, Mom. I just need you to know that I do not have a fear of dying because of what I do. I don't. And I looked at my father, and my father says, neither do I. So if you have faith, you can't let fear of what people are going to say about you, what people are going to do to you. I walk around and I actually think I should be wearing a steel girdle, because then at least I could hear the thunk. I mean, the stuff that has been said about me is unbelievable. And you know what? I don't talk to media. I don't talk to the left-wing people in the media. I do talk to a few reporters that I know their work, that they'll actually tell the truth. And the other thing that has happened where I've had a lot of changes is 1.5 years ago, I started a TV show podcast. It's called Sinkowitz. It's spelled phonetically. I have usually a national guest on once a week. We tape this. I talk about 5 states. I do national stuff. I do vote notes, which means it's a longer story. I actually do international things, and I did have Brazil on like in the last week or two, so I thought that was something the other night when they were talking about Brazil. But I put together those shows myself on the stories I'm going to talk about. And up until January 1st of this year, I had tried to stay nonpartisan because my Fight Voter Fraud is a 501c4 nonprofit. We can be partisan. I have always been one vote for one legal voter. I have to stay this way. But I got to tell you, the Democrats and the left are out of their freaking minds. Even the stories that I have to read in the newspapers and online, anytime you see anything that's from PBS, NPR, or better yet, the League of Women Voters, honestly, whatever they say, do the opposite. Because it's crazy. These women for the League of Women Voters think us women are too stupid to be able to change our last name when we get married. I mean, really, or better yet, we can't have the DOJ getting our voter rolls. Then they'll have the last 4 digits of our social security number. Excuse me, who gave you your social security number? They already have all the digits. The last 4 is just an identifier. That's it. So now if you go to my show, I actually have a box of tissues that I call for the wah-wahs. So anytime I'm reading a left-leaning story, I get the tissue box out. So I've been pretty outspoken recently about a lot of different things. I didn't want to get political with anything. But then I had something else happen. There was a wonderful person who spoke yesterday who was actually the inspiration for it. And that's attorney Peter Tickton. I hadn't wanted to do anything political. And I saw a couple of months ago, his publicist Adrian had sent out an email saying that he was interested in running and being the Attorney General. Within 5 minutes, I emailed her and I said, I would love to do a 30-minute special on Peter, on why he wants to be Attorney General. 2 days later, we had that done. And I remember my producer saying, Linda, I thought you said you didn't want to do this. And I said, I changed my mind. So now what we are doing set up on the website, but we can also accommodate you. We can do groups, anybody. We need to make a difference. All of you here are here because you are supposed to be making a difference. Don't rely on anybody else. You have to help. So I want to thank you again and thank Juan for having me here and Matt and the whole crew. And if anybody is so inclined, we are a nonprofit. We do have to beg for money, so you can go to our website, fightvoterfraud.org. Thank you so much.
Gotta have a hug.
Thank you. All right, folks. If I can, I'm going to give the microphone to Juan, but if I can, it's going to be an honor to have Ed Solomon up here. I'm going to explain what we're going to do real quickly. I'm going to give it to Juan, and I'm a jarhead, right? We ate crayons, for God's sakes. We asked Ed to give us a presentation with the help of Roger and Mark and everybody else here, so even Marines can understand when he's talking.
Pull up a cast vote record and analyze it for election fraud. How many judges can understand it? How many lawyers can understand it? This is why we can't have things in our elections that require specialized skill sets in order to understand how the counts get to where they are, because once something goes wrong, it takes an incredibly, what's the correct phrase for this? A very special niche of people to diagnose the problem, and then we have to compress it back down for the general audience. And so the one thing I want to say before we get started is the number one reason to get rid of computers in our elections and then return to hand-counted paper ballots on election day only and at a precinct level, 400 or 500 people a precinct, is so we never have to have a conversation like this ever again. All right, now I wrote this article 1 year and 1 day ago, June 16, 2025. I was a bit black-pilled right then during Andy Thompson's case. I said, why Nevadans deserve to have rigged elections. That's how angry I was. Anyway, I'm a little happier today. So, taking the same images from that newspaper article from the Nevada Globe, and we're calling this synchronized election results and lockstep parallel motion. And we're going to be
better to work with now. He was working on a prehistoric dinosaur computer, and we got him something newer so that he could work. He's a little bit hard of hearing, so he'll do the talking. We won't have to force him to listen. But Ed, you have done some amazing work pulling these algorithms together and understanding what's going on, that even with all the experts that we've thrown at this stuff, you found things that nobody else found within the way these programs are working in the machines. And he's just a guy, but he's one of the great patriots in this whole thing. His material was presented at the White House the other day and got total respect, okay? So super guy. Ed, come here. Come here. One thing I want you to do, he's gonna have some needs. We're covering them. Anything, when you give us a handover to unauthorized.1 or other things, or direct to guy like this, you're not helping them forward so much as just backfilling on what they've already put in, okay? We're way deeper than people realize. Ed's one of those guys, you did it all out of your own pocket, your own time, your own mind.
whatever I could do.
Whatever you could do. But you did it.
I did it, man.
Okay,
Yeah.
stuff that world-class experts did not get it. You saw things nobody else did. Ed, thank you so much for coming. He flew out here, he was willing to walk. We said that we don't have time for that. He's got out here. We paid for an actual airplane for him. And I'm going to hand it over to you, bro.
Thank you.
They're yours.
Okay. So, perhaps the most important thing to preface this with is why we shouldn't have computers and technology in our elections to begin with. I'm not a chef. I can't cook a Chateaubriand. I'm not a mechanic. I can't change an axle on a car. How many of you here are computers and programmers? No, right? Well, the general ones, you get what I mean. How many people can do calculus, can do rates of change over time? And no. How many law enforcement officers can pull up a cast vote record and analyze it for election fraud? How many judges can understand it? How many lawyers can understand it? This is why we can't have things in our elections that require specialized skill sets in order to understand how the counts get to where they are, because once something goes wrong, it takes an incredibly, what's the correct phrase for this? A very special niche of people to diagnose the problem. And then we have to compress it back down for the general audience. And so the one thing I want to say before we get started is the number one reason to get rid of computers in our elections and then return to hand-counted paper ballots on election day only at a precinct level, 400 or 500 people a precinct, is so we never have to have a conversation like this ever again. All right, now I wrote this article 1 year and 1 day ago, June 16, 2025. I was a bit black-pilled right then during Andy Thompson's case. I said, why Nevadans deserve to have rigged elections. That's how angry I was. Anyway, I'm a little happier today. So, I'm taking the same images from that newspaper article from the Nevada Globe, and we're calling this synchronized election results and lockstep parallel motion. And we're going to be going over Nevada 2024, Colorado 2020, and Maryland 2024. So I want to have Maryland in there because Maryland is done with ES and S, and Nevada and Colorado are done with Dominion. So it's not just one vendor, and they have the exact same graphs you're going to see. So when I show you one or two of these graphs, once you understand it, don't think this is the only place it's ever happened in. Give me the cast vote record of any one of the 50 states in the union of 2020, 2022, 2024, and it's going to happen again in 2026, and you're going to see stuff just like this.
Hey, folks, please keep it down. Ed's speaking.
Yeah, let's keep it down at the back, even though we're getting in line for that stuff. But stop for 1 second. Ed, I want to mention one thing. He just gave you a term that is going to be part of the glossary that you want to have in your armory as we go to battle on this stolen vote. Lockstep parallel motion. You coined that term, I think, did you? So think about what that means. They're all in step, parallel in all of these different votes. If you don't get that, you don't understand anything of the rest of what Ed's about to say. Lockstep, parallel motion, okay? So I just want to make sure I emphasize that sticks in your head. You think that's right? You think that's right?
Roger was talking. Okay. All right. So we're going to start. This is the chief exhibit in the case of Andy Thompson versus Secretary of State in Nevada, which we filed in December of 2024. That case is still ongoing because they don't know how to get rid of it. So what's happening in this graph? Well, there's three modes of voting. There's an early voting, election day, and mail-in voting. They rig all three. We're going to deal with the mail-in vote here. And we're looking at roughly 500,000 mail-in ballots. It's 443,000. And we're pulling them from the cast vote record, which comes from the Secretary of State's office. So it's not like it's my own data source or it's some PCAP thing. This is, I go to the Clark County Registrar of Voters, I download the cast vote record, and let's say there's 1 million ballots. Row 1 is ballot 1, row 2 is ballot 2, down to row 1 million is ballot 1 million. It's not that complicated. And it shows me every single candidate and proposition selection made on that ballot. That's it. If there's a 1, it means the person filled it in. If there's a 0, it means they didn't fill in that bubble. That's it. Very easy to read. So what happens when I look at the mail-in vote only? Because just so you know, There's technically an early voting that happened that I've taken out of here. There's an election day vote that happens around here that I also took out. So we're only looking at the mail-in votes, all 443,000. I said, I'm going to take I said, what is 3% of this number, 443,000? It's about 13,000. So I chose an arbitrary number, and I said, I'm going to take every consecutive batch of 13,000 ballots. And I'm going to split them into Trump and Kamala voters. Then I'm going to split them again into how they voted on abortion or as to how they voted on adopting open primaries for future elections, okay? So when I do that, let's say halfway through the election, this would be about 220,000 ballots in. It says that 65% of Trump voters were opposed to state question 3, and that maybe 48% of Kamala voters were opposed to state question 3. And I go, okay, how about the next batch of 13,000 ballots? Let's say it comes down here. And now it's, okay, 58% of Trump voters were opposed and 2% of Kamala voters were opposed. Is there anything wrong with there being a partisan difference between Trump and Kamala voters? No, we actually expect that. That's not the problem here. Wait till you see Arapahoe where there was 0 in Colorado. But anyway, the partisan divide isn't the problem. The problem is that the rate at which they change is identical from one batch of ballots to the next. So look at this in the yellow regions. When Trump voters go up, Kamala voters go up by exactly 6/10 that amount. Then when Trump voters go down in the next batch of 13, Kamala voters went down by 6/10 of that percentage again. And then when Kamala voters went up, Trump voters went up in the yellow. And they go down, down, up, down, down. Like 85% of the ballots, that is 375,000 ballots! Almost 500,000 ballots were synthetically engineered. This has nothing to do with human behavior. Then after Election Day in the gray, is there any more synchronization here? No, it's all gone. They didn't have to rig anything anymore. Synthetically engineered elections, it's worse than rigged. It's completely fake. Now here you see the rates of change. So how do you get this graph? I subtract that peak from this peak, and I do the same thing for the Kamala voters at the same time. So I subtract the distance from peak to peak. Can anybody see the difference, other than one being 6/10 the height of the other? See the end, where they're out of sync? That's what a normal election looks like, right at the tail end. All right, we'll go to the next slide, Roger. I get very, I want to knock people out sometimes to talk about this.
Keep going, Ed.
All right.
Keep going, it's good. Ed, you be loud, man. You be loud.
All right. All right, so here's Arapahoe County. We'll probably we'll do Mesa County more later tonight for Tina Peters. But this is Arapahoe County, Colorado. This is the 2020 general election. Did the same thing. So in El Paso County, there's a 30–40% difference between how Democrats and Republicans wanted to raise their taxes or not, which you would expect. Except in Arapahoe, there's no difference between Trump and Biden voters. Blue is how Biden voters voted on the repeal of Gallagher, which resulted in the tripling of property taxes, by the way. And then the red is the Trump voters. Can anybody see the difference between every consecutive batch of 10,000 ballots? So what I did here, and Roger does these, we'll take these cast vote records and we'll shuffle them millions of times. This is what an ordinary election would look like if the ballots just came in the mail random the way they're supposed to. That's what it's supposed to look like. Does that look like that?
Oh.
So the beauty of this synchronization, which the original term I used was lockstep parallel motion. Roger, go to the previous slide, the original. So the reason I got that more crazy term was because they're moving in lockstep. The lines are parallel, even if they are something called a linear thing. And it's in motion because it's happening over time. But the word that Mark Cook used, I actually like is synchronized election results, because the rates of change are synchronized, and it's impossible. There's no controversy. There's no theory you can come up with that says how this could happen in a fair election. And this is why the Nevada Secretary of State has been running away from Andy Thompson now for over a year and a half. We haven't even had a merits hearing. Because who wants to have a merits hearing on that? It's over. All right. So this is Arapahoe, and this was the second exhibit we entered into the Nevada case. And initially, they didn't want to admit it because they said, well, this isn't from Nevada. Why are you giving us something from Colorado? Why? Because it's the same vendor, Dominion Voting Systems. It's also a historical example, which is technically neutral because that's from the state of Colorado. Now, what happened 5 years later after we entered that into the court record? Go to the next slide, Roger. Here it is again, the same graph you just saw for Colorado. Trump and Biden voters doing the same thing. Maybe the ballot window is a bit bigger than 10,000, that picture. And they said, oh, well, let's go change the cast vote record half a decade later without telling the judge, without telling the plaintiff, Andy Thompson, without telling the analyst, Edward Solomon, under oath for penalty of perjury. Let's just tamper with evidence across state lines without telling anybody.
Same file name, same file name, same everything, same file name.
Yes, exactly. Same file name, same version number. Trump voters became the yellow line, and Biden voters became the green line, and they're no longer synchronizing their rates of change. Now I caught them by accident. Lady Draza asked me to help her in a Supreme Court case. There's something going on in Maryland. And I said, I want to make sure I have this proper for the Supreme Court justices. Let me make sure that nobody tampered with that data. Then I caught them, whole shebang. I called the FBI. The next thing you know, Arapahoe County was putting out apology statements for why they changed a cast vote record half a decade later without telling anybody. So you put two and two together. What's the most important thing? Because I know there's a little mathematical controversy about Arapahoe in particular that I don't want to get into today. And let's just assume for the sake of the argument that the excuse Arapahoe County gave is correct, for the sake of it being correct. There's no point even discussing what that was. They still proved with the new cast vote record that lockstep parallel motion can't happen naturally. So then why is it still in the Nevada elections in 2024? Why is it in North Star Bureau, Alaska for the 2025 election? Why is it in Fulton County, Georgia in 2020, 2022, and 2024? Well, in fact, why is it everywhere I look in any cast vote record that I ever get my hands on? It's not hard to find. It's very easy to figure out which ones and how they're going to rig it. It's not like I'm coming to a predetermined conclusion. I just graph the data as it is from the states, from the Secretary of State. All right, Roger, let's go to the next one. All right, so here's another one. How about this is early? Yeah, that's the early vote, and that's election day. So here it is again. We're looking at abortion. We're looking at Trump voters only for the moment in red. So this is Clark County 2024. Do you want to have third trimester abortions or not? That's basically what the amendment was. So it says that in the early vote in both Clark County and Washoe County, that 70% of Trump voters were opposed. Exactly 70.00 in both counties. And then between the second part of the mail-in vote, we get to the election day vote. This is the election day. It says we went from 70%, which is more than 2 to 1 opposed, to 52% opposed to late-term abortion amongst Trump voters only. Because Kamala voters are down here at only 8% in both counties. Why would Trump voters go from a near 3 to 1 ratio against late-term abortions from early voting to a near 1 to 1 ratio on election day? Does that make sense to anybody here?
No.
It's not the voters.
Now let's look at Kamala. We're going to get there. Let's look at the Kamala voters. I come from New York. I know a lot of Democrats. And you know what? Doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or Republican. I don't know anybody in my personal life that endorses a late-term abortion. Their own polls, fake news, their own polls will show you that. that the partisan difference on this doesn't bear, I don't think it even exists at the third trimester. You're telling me that 92% of Democrats who voted for Kamala want late-term abortions? And some people go, well, maybe it's the wording of the bill. You know, they use, you know, all their crazy euphemisms for it. Okay, well, I can go look at Colorado 2020, where it was explicitly written to ban late-term abortions, and you got the exact same result if you split it by Trump and Biden. Doesn't hold. Now let's go back to one more previous, so we get to the human thing. One more back. So this type of behavior, ordinary humans that are criminals, rigging an election and stuffing ballots, they cannot create this pattern. If I told everybody here, I want you to stuff ballots to this predetermined outcome at the end, I guarantee you're not ever going to, not in a million years would any of us create this pattern, even if we were trying to rig it. This can only be done by a computer. And now I want you to know how it happens. How did this happen? Because I can split this into congressional districts. I can show you Trump voters in District 1 moving in synchrony with Kamala voters in District 4 in Clark County. Okay? How does this happen? Do they act on all these subgroups at once? No, it's a very dumb algorithm. So there's another line in the middle you're not seeing here, and it's the overall yes to no ratio, regardless if you voted for Trump or for Kamala or where you live. And what they were doing was flipping no to yes on abortion or no to yes on state question 3, regardless of how you voted for president, regardless of where you lived. And that makes everybody do the same dance at the same time. It's mathematically forcing. Flipping votes. Not deleting, not inserting, flipping with the computer. It's the only way to recreate that pattern. Now, on that, I was going to say something about out as well. We even know the direction in which it's flipped, okay? How do we know that? Because if I divide the height of the red line by the height of the blue line at any moment in time, the ratio actually remains a flat constant. So I know the flip is no to yes, because if the flip was from yes to no, and I divided the height of the red line going to the top by the height of the blue line going to the top, it's not constant. So we even know the direction of the flip. So when they say, oh, well, ballot flipping occurred, but maybe you don't know who it's for, Mr. Solomon, cases. Actually, I do know who. I know exactly who they flipped them for. This is what happens when. Anybody here play a video game called Half-Life years ago? No, I see a few people. There was the opening chapter was called Unforeseen Consequences. And it was about a bunch of geeks and computer scientists and particle physicists that thought they were smart enough to open portals to other dimensions, and all they did was accidentally open the gates to hell in a resonance cascade. That is your resonance cascade right there. They didn't even mean to do that. That it's an unforeseen consequence of their own rig. Why did it take so long to find something like this? Well, believe it or not, nobody wrote a textbook on algorithmic election fraud. Yeah, so I mean, you know, you want to go to, yeah, I should. I actually have hundreds of pages, thousands. But you know, if you want to be a counterterrorism agent and you're writing in law enforcement, you can go find some, you know, interns and whatever, and you're going to find, you go find how to do it. You want to go prosecute white-collar crime? There's plenty of internships and courses on that. You want to be a chef? There's a course on that. You want to be a mechanic? Is there any course on election fraud? No. So this is why it took so long to find these, because if you just looked at yes versus no on abortion without splitting into Trump and Biden voters, you're never going to see anything. It actually looks like a fair election. If you just look at Kamala versus Trump and nothing else, it looks like a fair election. I can't tell you. And it's 3-1 to only 49% opposed in the election.
and then cool under pressure, okay? That's trained into them. You fight like you train. And that's part of what really, I think, is part of this whole crowd. Most all of you, we kid about Nino's Cremo and hand wringing and everything else. But when the pressure came, and most people ran away because they didn't like the societal pressure, their friends, their relatives, the pressure to get the shot, and you knew better. At so many levels, you're the survivors who have pressed through and stayed on point. And really, we wouldn't be doing an event like this if it wasn't for the fact that you guys are here. We're just facilitating you guys. It's your event, seriously. It's not that I'm putting it on or unauthorized or the coalition. You guys made it happen. We're just trying our best to facilitate this part of the Patriot community so that we can make our way through societally. And by the way, all the news stories, all the actions, everything that's happening right now, again, as I've said several times, you're moving from the tail to the head. Everybody was abusing you. You were the misfit toys, whatever.
1, 2.
Tell me I'm wrong. Every one of you has a story
1, 2, 3,
about
4, 5,
how
6,
the
7, 8, 9,
relatives
10.
look at you. Okay, how you're thought of at work. Seriously, and you survived that. You're not SNIOPs. You know what a SNIOP is? S-N-I-O-P. A SNIOP is a person that is susceptible to the negative influences of other people. You are not susceptible to those warm brain waves, whatever. You're survivors. You're pressing through. You have a brain in your head. You know, there's a scripture, God's talking to his people through the prophet. And he says, through the prophet to the people, I have not made you an ass. You're not a donkey or a cow to be led around by the nose with a little nose ring. Okay? What is this deal with the nose rings, by the way? It's the hygienic issue. But I haven't made you like a donkey or an ass. You have a brain in your head. The prophet's telling the people, you have a brain in your head. And I gave you those scriptures. I've given you the prophets. You know these things. You can do the analysis and come up with the right answer. So do it. You're not supposed to just sit there and let some guru tell you what they think's supposed to do. You all have a brain in your head. What we do is we try to provide things like Joe Hoff's articles, the podcast where the various people do stuff. I see David Clements here. Some of the best work that you've done in your entire life has been these last few months. I mean, those videos, how many of you have watched some of the David Clements videos? Wow, superstar. Look at all the fine folks that we've had here giving you real information to work with and fill that brain so you can go out and complete the mission, okay? A lot of times, let me say this. Sometimes you're on a mission and literally even the people that sent you will never know the details of exactly what happened. They wouldn't believe it if you told them. And it's hand of God stuff at some crucial instant. Just a glint and you realize, oh, that's what's going on. Something that you're the only person that might have all the little parts and pieces of the information. It could be a family member, it could be business, it could be something of national import, but you're the guy. God has put each and every one of you in this audience in an unusual, specific situation that you're the only real one that can actually address that person, that situation with precision. Think of this. You're a precision instrument in God's hands to do something critically important, and sometimes it has to be enough for you that if the only person in all of existence that knows what actually happened is God, that's enough. Okay? And I know that throughout this audience, that is a common story. There's things that you've done. It'd be nice to get recognition by people around you. It'd be nice to get recognition for the president. Hello? Yeah, that was really great. A great job. Yeah, we all count on it. But all of that pales, right? If God knows, he's watching, okay? And then we had word just a few minutes ago, the president's been following the summit, as he should. And you know why? He already knows what all of us speakers might have to say. He wants to know how you guys are doing, how you're thinking about it, because at the end of the day, you remember I've told all of you, there's a number that's critical. You have to have 80+%, okay? In order to overcome all of these things that are coming and to avoid going into civil war. Some of these things are so radical. So it's important because you're the ones who are going to influence all the people around you. You guys, like the Gideons, just the chosen, the 300, thousands there, you're the chosen, and you're going to go into battle, and you're just going to have a lamp for a light to scare the living daylights out. You realize they went in, they didn't go in with a weapon. The Gideon story, go read it again. They just go in, and all they have is a lamp. At the right moment, they bring it out, and they're waving it around, and then they're, making all sorts of noise, okay? And the noise scares the living crap out of all of these camped up armies, and they start running into each other. That's what's going to happen right now. We're about to bust loose in these guys, but it's going to be you guys that do it. I so appreciate everybody that's here. I've tried to get a chance to say hi to as many as I can. If I miss somebody, we'll catch you in September. Bannon is ready to come on now, so I'm going to leave the stage, let Bannon come in, and he's been a treasure. Let's give it up for Steve Bannon and thank him.
Listen, I want to take a minute, but Tom Cotton just put up a tweet that said that the confirmation hearing today for Jay Clayton is not going to take place, that Bill Polk will be the acting director of national intelligence. You saw the morning shows. All they were doing is sitting there and saying, hey, we need Jay Clayton in, because the first question we're going to ask him, was the 2020 election stolen? Well, Mark Warner, I can give you the answer of the summit out in Las Vegas. The 2020 election was stolen, and we're going to get the receipts in those intelligence agencies. They said we're going to get it.
Ooh, freaking raw, Steve.
The power of your summit. You had Eduardo Bolsonaro there premiering the film for you, the first time it's ever been seen. The very next day, the Supreme Court sentenced Eduardo to 4 years in prison. You had Rachel Maddow take her whole show to call you vigilantes. They are scared to death of what you're doing. And then last night, I was honored to be able to say a few words to you folks and play the Rachel Maddow thing. We got it to the president. The president obviously got other input, but you are having a major impact. From the halls of Congress, the United States Senate could not stand up to the power of the summit. And now we're going to get Bill Pulte in as Director of National Intelligence on an acting basis. And trust me, Bill Pulte is going to pick up from the great work started by Tulsi Gabbard. You got John Solomons over there now. We're going to get to the bottom of the stolen election of 2020. And the President of the United States is going to get the Save America Act passed. We're going to implement it. We're not going to have this current midterm stolen. We're going to go on to victory from Las Vegas. I just want to thank you guys. Fight on, truth.
Steve, thank you. You are a hero. Thank you. He texted me at 2 o'clock in the morning. Matt, why aren't you picking up? Well, it's 2:00 in the morning. But he said, please get me back on. I need you to have me on to tell the summit the power you have. And I want to give the mic back to Juan. We got another 15 minutes before Greg's on. He asked me to start this back in September. He knew something.
Well, hold on, don't go anywhere. Gosh, you keep running off.
I'm just his chief of staff, and I like just being his chief of staff.
Steve and Matt have really bonded, and so they really team up really well together. But I don't know, have you been helping? Steve thinks he's telling this audience something we don't already know. 2020, it's not over yet. Hello? Jennifer wrote a whole song about this. Everybody here, you have it on the cards in your bags. How does it go? 2020, it's not over yet. Ha, 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 ha. I hope Steve heard that. Okay. I gotta thank everybody here too. I did a private conference here, paid for it all, brought in about 100 people a couple months ago. Decided we had it pretty well down, and we did another one with this. Nobody expected what happened, and of course, after I announced it, then I get the call from the folks with the movie, and then we had some other things happen. Brazil, South Korea. We have the South Koreans here, former president, okay? You're gonna see him this afternoon. So it wasn't perfect, and we're still working through some of the stuff. We tried to be as sharp pencil as we could, had to spend a pile of money on all sorts of things. But I thank all of you for being graceful as we try to work through it. We did kind of jam the tables in to make sure that we had everybody in, so it's a little bit tight quarters. Did you still have a good conference so far? One of the things that we were hoping, and we were told early on we were going to be able to pull it off, was to take the bar area out and then have it so it was more open across there. In fact, we'd actually go to that side. And then just with logistics, working through it, they just decided it just was going to be too close and they might be able to get stuff done that interfere with us. We have a great ally here with Don Ahern, with the Ahern Hotel and staff. Very important. I mean, they're running a business. They got to pay the bills, all the other stuff. But when other places, when it really counted early on, wouldn't have anything like this around them, we had access to this facility and did a number of events, bailed. There was something that happened early on, and the kids were going to lose every penny they had. And I said, well, we can't have that. And so we were able to work something, come over here and do something, and got them out where they didn't lose any money, that they were doing another event. And then we've just continued on. And I can tell you behind the scenes, even where there's been concern, well, somebody's going to come after us, we're going to get stuff, they might do something legal, whatever. Top to bottom, they just said, well, send it, we're ready. And they never backed down once. It is a privilege to have business people with real assets, their reputation on the line, all sorts of things, decide to step up. It's more than just throwing money at something. It's more than just a name or personality. You still have to have this kind of access. As a community, I can tell you that within the Ahern family, they're totally in support of things that we're doing. The president, they've had the president here in this room. Matt and I were here for that and other things. So you're blessed in ways that you don't even know, so that I would say it's a hand of God thing. He wants you to be able to do what you're going to have to do next. Why is the president following what you're hearing, what you're seeing, what you're understanding? Because you're going to be that Gideon's army at this critical moment. And I'd actually encourage all of you, go read that. Go read that section in the Bible. And then just kind of in your imagination, you can even find some Bible commentary to help you kind of think through what would that have been like? And they went into battle. They didn't have a sword. Okay? When the enemy ran, it wasn't from their sword, they were killing each other off. And when they were defeated, they didn't come back and bother Israel for a whole 50 years. Nobody did. When we beat the deep state at their own game, they're going to be wiped out, and we're going to bring peace, not just to America, but to the whole world. Think of all the lives, okay? Everyone here affects a much larger crowd than you ever thought of. And by the way, you know what? Think of 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, everybody in this room, and the amount of influence you had in the community, how you thought and all that. You've grown up in the fight. You've been trained in the fight. You mentally have shown yourselves approved because you can process things, you can think for yourself, you're not going to be a SNEOP. You're the greatest audience of this type in the country, and you've got the greatest leadership here providing stuff. I mean, Trennis Evans, just another one of us, and rises all the way up to the top, dealing with stuff going right to the president, the J6ers, leading really a informational side into that community that I don't think anybody else even touches. We got a number of people I could stop and go, well, there's this one, this one, this one, this one, this, endlessly. The amount of leadership within the Patriot community that we have represented here as a cross-section is off the charts. Do you guys agree? So, Matt, who do we have up next? I didn't even look. I got over here and I got swamped a little bit. I didn't get a chance to look. Greg, oh my gosh, Greg. We had a great conversation the other day. Seriously, come on up here. Come on up here. You know, go ahead. Oh, yeah. Yeah, don't go over there. Yeah, I don't want to talk to you. Okay, come on, come on, come on. Come on.
Hey, not contract, schedule time. No. I was going to call you up here anyway.
Just one more time. Great, Greg. I got to tell you, you know, you just wrote a book, or you're in the process of finishing up this book. It's on pro se.
Yeah.
You know that. Let me just give you a hint. One of the days that we're going to do in September is going to be just focused on pro se everything, because you know what? We have not been able to get through the courts with attorneys, not because they're bad attorneys, but because the attorneys can get sanctioned and fined, and the judges, they're part of a club, and they only want the attorneys to bring stuff they want. And then they've got a scam going across the country where if you're a pro se in so many of the states, you can't get out of what we mockingly call magistrate hell. They won't let you get to an actual judge. They're gatekeepers to get into the court system. So we're going to spend an entire day. Greg, would you come in September and present again and actually go in? And I actually would like you, along with Tracy and some of the other folks, I want to coordinate that schedule out. That's going to be one of the most important days within this whole movement, I think, in the next several years, because we've got to have the pro se, get the respect in the courts. And, you know, Abraham Lincoln, he wasn't a bar accredited attorney. He read by candlelight, figured it out, did it. You're like an Abraham Lincoln. You even kind of have a little, we could get some lifts for you. Stilts, actually, in your case. But even in our talks, I'm just telling folks, this is a guy that's really in the fight in a unique way. We have so many people. Where's Tracy? She was sitting right over here before. Oh, there she is. Oh, she's supervising. I see all the way at the back. Okay. Echo. Tracy doing this amazing work up in Utah, and has been, miracles happen, the court system, she's now broken free of some of that magistrate hell stuff. She's got one heck of a story, unbelievable story. And a mom, okay, doing battle just like Lloyd did and his brothers, all the way to the Supreme Court. We're not done there. It looks like it's dead. Hold on, okay? So, and it would never have gotten to the Supreme Court except that it was pro se. So you're doing the Lord's work. You just wrote a book. I'm going to hand the mic off to you, but you know what? Let me just say a prayer for you. Father God, what Greg's doing is so important. We pray for favor within the court system, the legal system, and out to the public. We pray for your blessing, your provision, where there's thin resources for Greg and the others with him doing the beautiful work they're doing to bring justice into the lives of Americans back here in America and out across the world. I pray that you would bless Greg, protect him, put your angels around him, and give him the right access to the community, this community, to be able to send out his message accordingly, and massive book sales with this important work that he's done. We ask all this in Jesus' name. By the blood of Christ, make it so. Thank you, Greg. Take it out.
Thank you very much, Juan.
And remember, you've got Mike and everything over here. You got your computer right there.
I'm coming over.
Tissue paper if you got to cry. Whatever you need. Yeah, where's the hand cream? Where's Nino? Oh, you know what? I got, hold on. Hold on. I got 20 seconds. Oh, I just used it. Here, what? 20 seconds. Okay, so you know what? Okay, you know what? For different reasons, I had a couple of guys come out here to join us. I've got Ethan and Wayne. Wayne's one of my mechanics. He's doing stuff. He's 15. He's a farm mechanic. So they'll pull the cab off, pull the heads off, pull the tranny out, do whatever. He doesn't even think about it. Well, he's been doing it since he was a baby. So yeah, they got baby pictures with grease on them and everything. He's working on the trucks. This guy could pick up the truck, okay, if you take a look at him. He looks like he's 25, been working out for 20 years. We got Wayne, kind of a genius in his own lane. His father and I did critical work for a long time together. In fact, his father's work was page 1 of the President's Daily Brief for many years, stuff that he doesn't even know. It's fun to have a young component here to begin to understand what's going on. They will be some of our leaders out in the future. We got some other young people out here, but I asked them to sit up front here with them. Roman, great guys. And you might want to get their signature, because 20 or 30 years from now, you don't know who they're going to be, right? Thanks.
Thank you, sir. No, I want to use that. I like to walk around with the mic. Test. I got to be moving, walking around. Wow. Thank you all for being here. It's quite a showing. It looks different from up here. My name is Gregory Stenstrom. I'm currently from Pennsylvania, southeast corner of Pennsylvania. I'm about 15 minutes from the Delaware border, Joe Biden land, and 15 minutes from Maryland. So I'm tucked down in the county called Delaware County. Anybody here from Pennsylvania? We got a few? Oh, there you are. Sorry, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to. Joe Russo. Yeah. So that's my contact info here for anyone trying to get a hold of me. I mostly answer Gmail, mainly for storage. So anybody wants to reach me, there's that info there. I don't know if we're allowed to take screenshots or whatever, or photos, but. Say again? But, okay, hold on. No, I just make it go. Oh, okay. So this is the subject of the conversation for today, primary subject.